Not guilty to killing an Iowa high school student in 1979. Records say 65-year-old Jerry Burns filed a written plea Friday in Lynn County District Court. The charge is first-degree murder. His trial starting date has not been set. He remains in custody pending $5 million bail. Police arrested the Manchester business owner on December 19th, 39 years to the day after 18-year-old Michelle Martinko was killed. Her body was found the next day inside her family's car at Cedar Rapids Mall. She had been stabbed in the face and chest. Police say investigators matched a blood sample from the crime scene with a sample taken from Burns. The National Weather Service has been warning Iowans of life-threatening wind chills blowing across the state this week. The worst conditions are expected late tonight into Wednesday with wind chills of 40 to 50 below zero. Lori Morrison with Floyd Valley Healthcare in Lamar says frostbite can happen very quickly when skin is exposed to this kind of cold.
It can just be a matter of minutes, particularly if you're not using the right kind of precautions and bundling up appropriately for it. It does not take long at all.
The first symptoms of frostbite involve a prickly feeling followed by numbness.
And then from there, you're going to start seeing redness. It's your body trying to react and get circulation going. From there, it almost turns into that white color. And when it starts looking kind of that pale white, you're starting to get into some danger zones.
Forecasters predict this will be Iowa's coldest snap in more than 20 years. In addition to protecting yourself from this extreme cold, Morrison says pets should remain indoors. This has been Alex Benzagal with the KVFD Afternoon News. Have a great day.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. A wind chill warning continues until noon Thursday. Overcast this afternoon with a chance of flurries. High of 1 below. Northwesterly winds 10 to 20 miles per hour. Clear skies tonight. Lows level off around 24 below. Sunny skies again tomorrow. High of 12 below. A dusting of snow Thursday. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Right now 2 below.
With resistance on the rise, fighting disease in corn and soybeans takes a heavy-duty fungicide with super strength. Zolera FX from Arista Life Science combines 2 powerful fungicides at full rates for maximum performance and yield. Zolera FX delivers more robust disease control with both curative and preventative activity. And Zolera FX is now registered for use in wheat. Ask your retailer about Zolera FX, a super fungicide whose time has come. Always read and follow label directions.
Corn and soybean growers have a new in-furrow partner that can take convenience and productivity to new levels. Introducing Tepera Plus, fungicide plus insecticide from Arista Life Science. Extremely compatible with liquid fertilizers, Tepera Plus combines a highly systemic and residual fungicide, fluoxystrobin, with the insecticide bifenthrin to help your crop start healthy and finish strong. Ask your retailer about easy-to-use Tepera Plus. Tepera Plus is a restricted-use pesticide. Always read and follow label directions.
What if I told you there was a way to step into another gear for your brain and be much sharper, more focused, and improve your memory to a level that you could only dream about and notice these results in 30 minutes? Hard to believe? Neuroscientists are calling this new brain discovery the biggest advancement in brain science to date. It's called Limitless, the brain pill of the future. Take it, and within 30 minutes, you'll transport your mind to a new level of focus and clarity you would have never thought possible.
I took Limitless, and it started working in minutes. All of a sudden, it felt like a dark cloud had been lifted up right before my eyes. I have a mental clarity I've never felt before.
Biz execs, athletes, teachers, and students are calling Limitless a secret weapon for the brain. You have nothing to lose, so call now and find out how to get a free bottle today.
To find out how to get your free bottle of Limitless, call 800-681-9041. That's 800-681-9041. Free bottle for a limited time. Call now, 800-681-9041, 800-681-9041.
Take the worry out of winter with a winter weather advisor on KVFD, brought to you by Community Health Center Fort Dodge, offering dental, behavioral health, and general medical assistance for men, women, and children. They're committed to your well-being. Community Health Center. Get to know them. And Creative Cakes, making life sweet with espresso, lunch, gourmet cupcakes, and other sweet treats. Creative Cakes in the Crossroads Mall, Fort Dodge. They make life sweet. Listen for the winter weather advisor on the Voice of Fort Dodge, AM 1400 KVFD.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Listen to this.
Making radio great again.
I don't understand what is preventing you from laughing this off and giving me a big hug.
Michael Devine, the mayor of Manville.
It's a fancy title for a part-time job.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Yeah, that's where we are. AM 1400 KVFD, the voice for Dodge. I am Michael Devine, just by coincidence. Yes. Let me get this out of the way. Man, is it cold. Whoa. I'm getting to be kind of an old guy, and I rarely remember it ever being this cold. I don't remember it being this cold at all. Way back in the 70s, maybe sometime, but wind chill factor temperature of 51 degrees below zero. I don't think I ever remember that. Wait, I think it was around 1980, 81, maybe, or early 80s sometime, that the wind chill factor temperature somewhere in the Midwest was actually 100 degrees below zero. I don't know if that was in the continental 48 or in Alaska, but I know somewhere in the United States, wind chill factor was actually that cold. And here in the upper plains, it was very, very cold as well. You can always join this program by calling 515-955-1400 and ask this question. Where is that global warming? Where is the global warming? I'm ready for a little global warming, please. Now, I'll talk with David Osterberg about this later in the week of the Iowa Policy Project, and he's going to tell me this sort of weather, this extreme weather, is a direct offshoot of climate change. Maybe he's right. I don't know. He's been a water quality guy his whole life, and I admire David's conviction greatly. We'll have to see what he says about global warming, because I'm ready for a little global warming. Anybody else want to raise their hand and say, yeah, global warming, bring it. I'm going to call BS here on the Democratic Party once again today, especially Janet Peterson and Pam Yoakum. Joni Ernst, Senator Joni Ernst, a conservative or Republican, my kind of political figure. She's from a little town of Red Oak, and she rides around still on a Harley Davidson. I like that. It says something down home about Joni Ernst, and really, we're not a state that's a real sophisticated state. We may have our pretensions. We've been described as a very polite state. We are, but mainly we're a rural state to this day. Now, most of the voters in the Democratic Party are concentrated in the larger cities in Iowa, what passes for the largest cities in Iowa. After all, David Young lost his 3rd District congressional seat to Cindy Axne, even though he won 16 of 17 counties in the 3rd District. He forgot to win Polk County, and Cindy Axne won that county. So he's out, and Cindy Axne's in. And she's on the Ag Committee now, Congressional Ag Committee, after Steve King got the boot. So we'll see how that all works out, to have a freshman congressman on the Ag Committee, because Kevin McCarthy, the top dog Republican in the House in Washington, D.C., was outraged by what Congressman King said. And I'm on record as, okay, Congressman King, that's enough. Let's focus here. Let's focus on the 4th District. Now, I talked to him last week. He may or may not do that. Anyway, I digress once again. Janet Peterson wanted to throw Nate Bolton out of the Senate. She wanted to boot Nate Bolton out because he got half drunk and touched a couple of women's butts. Now, that's uncool, but it's hardly sexual assault. Joni Ernst has said that she was actually sexually assaulted when she was a young woman. She has accused her ex-husband in her divorce papers of physical abuse. And what is the reaction of these two prominent Democratic women in our state? Silence. What is the adverb that we usually use with silence in this case? Oh, yeah, deafening silence. It's deafening silence. Or is that a verb? I don't know. But I'm going to have to call hypocrisy on these two. I mean, Janet Peterson made a complete fool out of herself, as far as I'm concerned, trying to run Nate Bolton out of Des Moines. Bolton hung on there, which I respect Bolton for doing that. I don't know what his future is. Maybe this sexual harassment hysteria, and I do consider it a little hysterical. I know hysterical is never a word you're supposed to use to describe a female reaction to anything, is it? Well, it's hysterical. The hysteria around what Nate Bolton did was ridiculous. He touched a woman's butt. Okay, 3 women. He rubbed their butt. Oh my God. Let's ruin his life. Let's ruin Bolton's life. Kind of amazed I'm the one defending a Democrat from other Democrats, but there you go. And again, where is Janet Peterson and Pam Yoakum? Where are they in the Joni Ernst thing? By the way, let's go to this clip with Senator Ernst. This is from the Des Moines Register.
It's very hard for me to talk about my own situation. Again, I was not ready to talk about my situation. And unfortunately, my personal life is now out for everybody to see. So I will always continue to work with survivors and provide them the best possible resources I can. An issue that I'm very passionate about, and especially now that I am serving on the Judiciary Committee, which is really important. This is the first Congress that I've served on it, is to get the Violence Against Women Act reauthorized. We have to modernize it. We have to reauthorize it. It was allowed to expire last fall, and that shouldn't happen.
Can you or will you try to take legal action against these unsealing of these documents, or was that illegal?
It was not illegal. It was not illegal. I would love to point the finger. I would love to point the finger and say somebody screwed up, somebody leaked, but they're out there. And so now I will deal with that. But what I want people to understand is that I am the same person as I was last week. You just know more about what's inside of me now.
Well, that's absolutely heart-wrenching. And a fool could tell you that Senator Joni Ernst has been through a traumatic time. Not just a divorce, and I can tell you as someone who went through a divorce, not just a traumatic divorce, but she has been traumatized by a couple of men in her life. And as she said bravely, I'm still the same person I was last week. And her reaction, by the way, her reaction to all this finally coming out, and I'm sure it wasn't pleasant for her or her family to have all this come out. Her reaction is to work hard as a conservative Republican to reauthorize the Violence Against Women Act, which, as you heard her say, was allowed to lapse. I think they're still working on that. I'm not sure. I think they're still working on that. And I'm sure they'll get it done because there are Republican women in the Senate. Not that the men are a bunch of insensitive thugs. Most of the men who serve in Congress have daughters, and they certainly don't want their daughters abused. So they would definitely want the Violence Against Women. I think the original Violence Against Women was a little draconian. I hope when they reinstate it, they drop some of the more, how should I say it, over the top punishments. I hope it's recognized that there are differences in assault. Is what Nate Bolton did an assault, for example? Or is some thug beating some woman's face in? Is that really an assault? Yes, it is, by the way, and should be punished severely. AM 1400 KVFT, good afternoon. You're on the air. Hello. Yeah, telemarketer. Telemarketer. What a bummer. Anyway, yeah, I'm gonna have to call baloney on that. I'm gonna have to call BS in that whole thing. By the way, a young man, a young African American man, a young actor on the show Empire. Now, I think that's on HBO. This young man's name is Jussie Smollett, Jussie And the last name is spelled Smollt. Now, and I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly. I'm probably getting it wrong. I mean, no disrespect whatsoever by my inability to pronounce his name correctly. But Jesse Smollett alleges he was the victim of an assault overnight. He is an African-American young man again. And it's being reported that it seems to have been motivated by his race and sexual orientation. Apparently, he came out as gay here in the last year or something. And this is what the police statement is telling us today. This is what Jussie is telling the officers. According to the police statement, the Chicago police statement, 2 unknown offenders approached Smollett, gained his attention by yelling out racial and homophobic slurs toward him. The celebrity news website, TMZ, which is kind of a wackadoodle news site, but they're usually accurate. TMZ reported the incident, citing unnamed sources directly connected to Jussie, that the 2 men who allegedly attacked the actor after he left a Subway sandwich shop around 2 a.m. on Tuesday yelled, "Aren't you the blank of Empire N-word?" TMZ reported the 2 men were wearing white and wearing ski masks. They were wearing white and wearing ski masks in the middle of the winter that we're having. And by the way, the winter that we're having in Chicago, they're getting the same thing, maybe a little worse. The Chicago Police Department said the offenders began to batter Smollett and poured an unknown chemical substance on him. One of the men then wrapped a rope around the victim's neck. And then here is the reason that I believe this is all baloney. TMZ, according to Mr. Smollett, as the attackers left, they shouted, "This is MAGA country." This is MAGA country. Now, if you recall, not long ago down at Drake University, we had some racist notes being left in the rooms of some African-American students on the doors, slipped under their doors. A long story short, it turned out to be an African-American young woman who was doing these things, trying to draw attention to racism by making incendiary allegations and making it seem like the KKK was rampant on Drake University. I mean, because of her completely false and manipulative behavior, Drake University and its student body came out in force. They had a huge rally. They were going to fight against racism. The only racism was this young African-American girls. And by the way, you remember the University of Missouri situation a few years ago? Remember the University of Missouri situation a few years ago? Where mysteriously Nazi slogans appeared around the university campus? A young African-American leader texted a day or two later that the KKK was on the campus and the university wasn't doing anything about it. Turned out completely false. It was all false. And no one has ever really been able to find out where these offensive drawings and symbols, or who did this, who placed these offensive symbols, Nazi symbols, and apparently KKK symbols around the University of Missouri campus. This whole thing cost a decent man his job, caused a lot of soul searching. The University of Missouri football team was going to refuse to play if certain conditions weren't going to meet. I mean, the whole thing was false. As you remember, the air went out of this whole story when a white female professor was video recorded threatening a photographer. And she went and found some students and said, I need some muscle to get this photographer out of here. You remember that? You know, that whole thing was made up. So I'm not buying this whole thing. I'm not buying that this young man leaving a subway. I mean, go through this with me one more time. This young man, this young actor, he's leaving a Subway sandwich shop at 2 o'clock in the morning, and he's approached by two men in this winter, dressed in white. Two of them dressed in white? Really? And they're wearing ski masks. They beat him up. They pour a chemical on him. They wrap a noose around his neck and then tell him that this is MAGA country. A young woman writing in the Iowa City Daily, which is the student newspaper attached to the University of Iowa. She and others are telling us through their columns that the MAGA hat is the new swastika. And if it's not the new swastika, then it is the new white hood of the Klan. So if you're going to buy yourself a red Make America Great hat again, some folks have already put you in the racist corner. Does that sound unfair and ridiculous to you? I'd have to say there's a reason for that, because it's, unfair and ridiculous.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Listen to this.
Making radio great again.
You're saying a lot of words really fast that mean nothing.
Michael Devine, the mayor of Manville.
It's a fancy title for a part-time job.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
We really have to have liberals see doctors in mass. I mean, they're all crazy with this Trump derangement syndrome. They need help bad. News and weather coming up. This is AM 1400 KVFD.
Cars that sound like this. Trust Pennzoil Synthetics to protect their engines in extreme conditions. Top racing teams know that Pennzoil Synthetics give them the performance to help them succeed. And your car's engine deserves the same. Because your daily commute is no less important. Get complete protection for top engine performance, just like the pros. Visit Pennzoil.com/rebate to save on Pennzoil Synthetics. Terms apply.
Current price times 1,000 acres, carry the one. These days, it's hard to make the math work for your soybean fields. The BASF Liberty Link system with Liberty herbicide makes it easier. Start with a 2+ bushel per acre yield advantage. Add in lower system input costs and more complete weed control, and you get an extra $33 or more of profit potential per acre compared to Asgrow Roundup Ready to Extend soybeans. Grow smart with Liberty Link and BASF. Always read and follow label directions.
Good Samaritan Society Manson is looking for a registered nurse to be a part of their leadership team and serve as MDS and rehab coordinator. RNs applying for this 30-hour-a-week position must be in good standing with the state of Iowa. If you want to enjoy the benefits of working in a Bronze Award 5-star Christian care facility, apply online for the MDS position at good-sam.com. That's good-sam.com. Good Samaritan Society is an equal the employer. Women, minorities, and veterans are encouraged to apply.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
Good afternoon. I'm Alex Benzagal with the KVFD Afternoon News. Many federal workers and others are highly concerned we'll face another shutdown when the current extension expires on February 15th. Iowa Senator Chuck Grassley, a Republican, says he's hopeful we've learned a lesson and that House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, a Democrat, can reach a compromise with President Trump to solve the standoff.
Well, I would hope that Pelosi now would negotiate and not just say no as she has in the past. I think the president's shown more flexibility than I thought he would show.
A possible fix has emerged, what's being called an automatic continuing resolution, which Grassley says could end government shutdowns forever.
Pretty simple. Get up to September 30th, all the appropriation bills aren't passed. You don't shut down the government. You just continue to spend money at the level you did the last fiscal year until the appropriation bills get passed.
Most of the 800,000 federal workers who were furloughed or forced to work without pay were able to return to work yesterday. The 35-day partial federal government shutdown began on December 22nd and was the longest in U.S. history. A man has pleaded not guilty to killing an Iowa high school student in 1979. Records say 65-year-old Jerry Burns filed a written plea in Lynn County District Court. The charge is first-degree murder. His trial starting date has not been set. He remains in custody pending $5 million bail. Police arrested the Manchester business owner on December 19th, 39 years to the day after 18-year-old Michelle Martinko was killed. Her body was found the next day inside her family's car at a Cedar Rapids mall. She had been stabbed in the face and chest. Police say investigators matched a blood sample from the crime scene with a sample taken from Burns. The National Weather Service has been warning Iowans of life-threatening wind chills blowing across the state this week. The worst conditions are expected late tonight into Wednesday with wind chills of 40 to 50 below zero. Lori Morenson with Floyd Valley Healthcare in Lamar says frostbite can happen very quickly when skin is exposed to this kind of cold.
You know, it can just be a matter of minutes, particularly if you're not using the right kind of precautions and bundling up appropriately for it. It does not take long at all.
The first symptoms of frostbite are a prickly feeling followed by numbness.
And then from there, you're going to start seeing redness. It's your body trying to react and get circulation going. From there, it almost turns into that white color. And when it starts looking kind of that pale white, you know you're starting to get into some danger zones.
Forecasters predict this will be Iowa's coldest snap in more than 20 years. In addition to protecting yourself from this extreme cold, Morenson says pets should remain indoors. This has been Alex Benzagal with the KVFD Afternoon News. Have a great day.
Here's a look at how the markets closed today. March corn down 2.5 at 377. 86. Corn down 2.5 at 393 3/4. September down 2 1/4 at 396 1/4. March soybeans closed down 4 1/4 at 919. May down 4 1/4 at 932 3/4. July down 4.5 cents at 945 1/4. August down 4 1/4 at 950 1/4. March wheat closed down 5.5 at 513 1/4. Soybean meal down 40 cents a ton at 311.80. February live cattle up 7 cents at 126.47. April up 42 at 127.80. January feeder cattle down 82 cents at 142.65. March down a dime at 144 1/4. February lean hogs closed down 65 cents at 57.32. April up 22 at 62.55. From the farm desk, I'm Dwayne Murray.
This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice 4-234. I'm Michael Devine, and I'm ready for global warming. Let me say it again. In the weather forecast, first of all, our regular temperature, 2 degrees below zero. We might be 30 degrees below zero with the wind or more, depending on the wind gusts. A little snow maybe after 5 o'clock. Nothing to get concerned about. Mostly cloudy, very cold. Our high is 2 degrees above zero. Our high, is 1 degree below zero. And wind chill factor temperatures, again, this afternoon, 30 degrees below zero and more. Please be careful. You can't be out. Nobody can be outside for very long in this sort of cold with any skin exposed at all. I don't care how tough you think you are. Your skin can freeze in this sort of extraordinary cold in a very short period of time. Overnight, mostly cloudy in the early evening, then clearing later on. Our low, this is not a wind chill factor temperature. Our low tonight, 24 degrees below zero, and a wind chill factor, who knows? The wind could gust up to 26 miles per hour. I'm sure that means that the wind chill factor temperature at some point overnight into tomorrow morning will be 50 below. I don't know. I'm not coming out of the house. Tomorrow, sunny and cold. Our high temperature, again, this is regular temperature, 12 degrees below zero. Wind chill factor temperatures tomorrow. Are you ready? 50 degrees below zero or more. I don't even know what to say to that. Thursday, a chance of snow, mostly cloudy and cold. Saturday, sunny with a high of 40. Yes. On Sunday, chance of rain and snow. Rain, really, that must mean it's going to be above freezing. Otherwise, mostly cloudy, 36 degrees for a high on Sunday. Monday, a chance of snow, mostly cloudy with a high of 31. So that's the good news, but tremendous, tremendous cold coming our way. Good afternoon. You're on the air at AM 1400 KVFD.
Hi, Mike.
Hi.
I was listening about the Democrats silent about Joni Ernst.
Yeah.
You're with them. Being a liberal or Democrat is above all else, really. I think.
Oh, I think you're right.
I mean, there's been conservative women that have been through that, and there's the silence is deafening.
I'm not.
I mean, they're liberal Democrats first above all else. I've always thought.
Well, I think, and I'm just the exact opposite. The crime is the issue as far as I'm concerned. I mean, my God, I think beating up on women is a terrible thing. Let's prosecute the full extent of the law. But with the Democratic women, I'm not hearing that. They don't want to say anything for fear that it will portray a Republican leader in a sympathetic light. How strange is that? That's perverse. That's perverse.
They are Democrats first. It doesn't matter. That's bigger than anything else. I mean, it's bad.
Terrible thing. Oh, I agree. Hey, thanks for all.
Yep.
Hey,
bye.
yep. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge 237. Obituaries brought to you this afternoon by Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services at 1615 North 15th Street, Fort Dodge. You may contact Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services by calling 515-576-7128 or online at www.gundersonfuneralhome.com. Beverly Wright has passed away. Services for Beverly Wright will be tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock at Gunderson Funeral Home. Visitation from 9 to 11 tomorrow morning at Gunderson Funeral Home. Obituaries this hour brought to us by Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services at 1615 North 15th Street, Fort Dodge. You may contact Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services by calling 515-576-7128 or online at www.gundersonfuneralhome.com. Steve Peterson of the Webster County Farm Bureau is coming up.
Have the talk of the lifetime with the ones you love.
Grandma, this card asks, when did you get a TV and what was your favorite show?
I think around 1950, they had a Fort Dodge TV station that had a local barn dance show every Saturday night. Oh, honey, it was so much fun. They'd play instruments, we would sing and dance.
Sharing stories and memories with those who matter most isn't just important today, it will be especially significant when it's time to honor a life lived. Contact Gunderson Funeral Home to learn more about having the talk of a lifetime.
Have you ever wondered how the brain works? What makes us tick? Join me, Greg Woods, every Wednesday morning for all the latest news on the brain, on aging, and the science behind it all. It's The Mind Boggles, every Wednesday morning at 8:30 on AM 1400 KVFD.
I'm an Iowa business owner. My dad gave me some advice when I left home. He says, when you move to a new town, you need to find 3 people. You need to find a good mechanic because you need your car working so that you can get to work. You need to find a doctor so that you can stay healthy. But most importantly, you need to find a good banker because it gets tough out there. We would not be here today if it wasn't for our bank. I love my Iowa bank.
More Iowans choose to bank with an Iowa bank. Get to know a real Iowa banker and discover the genuine difference of Iowa banks.
This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge, 239 wind chill factor temperature, at least 30 degrees below zero. This portion of the program brought to you by the Webster County Farm Bureau.
We stand for people, progress and pride.
We're the Iowa Farm Bureau, and we support farm families. We're a voice on local, state, and national issues. We're also committed to making rural Iowa a better place to live and keeping Iowa farm families on the farm.
People, progress and pride, it's true. Iowa Farm Bureau, helping you.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Listen to this.
Making radio great again.
You're saying a lot of words really fast that mean nothing.
Michael Devine, the mayor of Manville.
It's a fancy title for a part-time job.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
All right, here we go. KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. Yeah, it's time for the portion of the week or portion of the program where we talk with Steve Peterson of the Webster County Farm Bureau. How you doing, Steve?
Good. How you doing, Mike?
Well, I'm cold like you are. I see you over there rubbing your hands together, and I've been doing the same thing. Here we are inside, and we're still rubbing our hands.
You need a little toasty fireplace in here today.
Well, I got a space heater back here. I think we're going to get that out here pretty quick. But no, even inside, it's your hands get so dry, and it's just when you have this kind of cold. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Hey, I'm 1400 KVFD. Good afternoon. You're on the air.
Hey,
hello,
Mike. This is Mr. Dinklaw.
Mr. Dinklaw, what are you doing, man? I got Steve Peterson on the air.
Oh, well, I'm playing cards at the Chesterfield.
Well, well, you're doing better than we are then.
Yeah. Hey, I just wanted to call and let you know that the courthouse is going to be closed tomorrow.
Oh, the courthouse closing up tomorrow?
Yep.
All right.
And if the road crew has to be out, they will, and the sheriff's department will be out. And we're closing down the courthouse tomorrow because of the cold weather.
But that sounds like a good thing to do, man. It's really tomorrow. But
Yep.
are you winning any
I'll
money?
let you know.
Are you winning any money or not?
Well, we're just playing along. It's just a fun game.
Just a fun. Are you coming in tomorrow or not?
I can. You want me to?
Well, somebody from the supervisor's got to come in.
Okay. Yep. I'll be in.
You're usually
I'll be
one
in
that
tomorrow.
gets. You're usually the one in the barrel when it comes to.
I'll be in tomorrow.
All right. Thanks, Keith. All right.
Yep.
Bye bye. AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. The Webster County Courthouse will be closed tomorrow because of the cold. Again, that sounds like a smart thing.
That's understandable.
That is understandable, isn't it?
It is.
Steve Peterson's here, and he's with the Webster County Farm Bureau, of course. And you and I both were at the Eggs and Issues legislative meeting.
First one of the year.
First one of the year. We almost didn't have it. And Jim Kirsten got on the stick and got it done, and I'm glad. And you mentioned when we were off, Mike, that it was a civil meeting, which is a good thing.
Very much so.
Who needs, we don't need those loud demonstrations. I mean, if you want to,
I think the whole point of it is to allow our elected local representatives to interact with the constituents here on a regular and basis. And when it becomes contentious or uncivil, that really doesn't serve the purpose of the dialogue, I think, that needs to be had.
Well, I think they even canceled one or two last year because they
they were close. And, I know that one time they brought security in and but no, I thought it was and I like the forum a little better. We were over in the bioscience building.
Yeah.
And from what I understand now, we're going to be there. The rest of the Eggs and Issues will be there instead of in the cafeteria.
Yeah, we started over there in the bioscience building with the representatives up on stage. I still wish they'd get rid of the writing down the questions thing. Years ago, they used to just set up a microphone and people would come up and ask a question. I still like that better.
And they did that some last year, and I like that too. I like to have the person, because sometimes the context of the question is lost in reading it off a note card.
Yeah.
And and I think it that way the person asking the question can be clear and concise. If there's an interpretation of the question, and it puts a little skin in the game on their part also.
Yes, it does.
So, I kind of like that also. And I thought we did do that maybe once last year. Or maybe that was the year before. But
I think it was the year before, and really if we had a microphone there so people could ask questions, Scrappy wouldn't get away with taking a shot at me like he did on Saturday. I'd still have the microphone in my hand and he wouldn't do that.
Yeah, you did. He got a free one.
He got a zinger in there, didn't he?
He did.
The Scrapster.
But no, it's and if people don't go out to it, it's a good forum. It's quick, it's easy, and it's a good way to if you have a question or just I pretty much just kind of listened and took some things in just to see where we're going. And early on, I really wasn't expecting a lot of news to be made that day, but I thought it was good. I like that venue with the kind of the elevated seating of the people, and I just think it's a good forum we got going on here. And I believe I seen now Ann Meyer is going to have some smaller kind of town halls personally, I think, and around the area here coming up. So I think she's really trying to connect and give an opportunity for her specific base to talk to her.
I should be in Badger. I think first of all, is that going to be this weekend? I
think it's this weekend. I think that there was two she talked about. I think they were in the maybe Badger and Vincent libraries. I know they were both in libraries, but I get kudos to her to get out and talk to the people too. So that's what it's all about. And it's pretty new down there at the State House this year, and it didn't seem very contentious, but I think when we have a year like this where there is actually a little bit of surplus money in the budget, it's not as contentious as when they are de-appropriating. Senator Kreinbrink's
favorite word. Right.
So, I think everyone's maybe playing nice right now to kind of get as much of the pie as they can at this point. So, it really wasn't a whole lot of, like I said, newsworthy things. It was pretty standard, I thought.
Well, of course, they're 2 weeks into the session.
Correct.
2 weeks into the session, so I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it was good that they had the meeting, and I'm glad that they did. There just really wasn't that much to report yet because they were only, again, 2 weeks into it.
Right. I didn't see any flashcards or whatever those panels or cards people hold up with up arrows and down arrows, and
Right.
there was none of that. But no, I'd encourage everyone to make an effort to come out to the Eggs and Issues put on by the Growth Alliance, and it's just a good all-around forum. So,
yeah. You were sitting with a guy that just called us, weren't you?
Yep.
Sitting in the same row.
So I haven't had the pleasure of making many supervisor meetings lately, but I'm sure here coming up I'll try to make a few. We try to get in and we kind of watch the agendas and see what's coming up. But right now they're kind of in their cruise control doing their budgets, and a lot of the departments are turning their numbers in and stuff like that. And then coming up in February, the Webster County Farm Bureau Board will actually sit down with the supervisors, and we do kind of go over the budget with them just roughly.
The Farm Bureau goes over the budget with the Board of Supervisors?
Yep. They come out and they talk to us, and we talk about the budgets. And the Farm Bureau has always been a sounding board for the county budgets. And actually, it's kind of a little known fact. We actually
it is, because I didn't know it.
Yeah. We discussed with them. Whatnot. There's probably I don't know of any around here. It tends to happen. It seems like more in the eastern part of the state and the southern part of the state. The Farm Bureau boards they'll challenge the budgets, and we have an appeal process that's all set up. And we actually usually have 2 or 3 counties a year that will appeal their supervisor budgets and whatnot. So we're kind of the rural watchdogs.
Mm-hmm.
And and here in Webster County, they do a very good job. There's not been any issues. We'll bring up issues that like on some of the roads and the bridges, and they give us the maps, and we've had various interests, talk about things they'd like to see or why this is being done, and it's just a good conversation. But we'll do that in probably the end of February. And then shortly after that's when they approve the budget and roll it out. So
okay,
but it's an interesting process. And before I got into Farm Bureau, I really didn't know that went on either. But that goes on in all 99 counties.
All 99 counties.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but the Farm Bureau is just like I said, it's kind of a rural sounding board. There's no official act, but I believe there is a process even for any citizen of the county to appeal a county budget. We've just kind of have a little more, systematic approach if we did feel something was out of whack.
Mm-hmm.
But here in Webster County, like I said, I feel for the amount of roads and bridges we've had, they've done an excellent job maintaining. We've always got bridges evidently that are coming out of condition or whatnot, in our roads. And Randy Will, he has done a pretty phenomenal job of systematically knowing how much he has to maintain. I mean, he can roll those numbers right off his tongue of how many miles of roads they need to be doing just to maintain the county. And like I said, there'll be different projects. And as far something that we do talk about a lot, they like to some of the less used gravel roads. They do like to I don't say abandon, but they go to kind of a minimum maintenance, to where and sometimes that will play in, especially if because these fields, the fields out there are all surrounded by some of these roads, and if say a producer wants to put a hog confinement in that area, well, maybe that road needs to be taken off of that kind of secondary classification or maintenance, and because of the truck traffic and the usage of and basically needs snow plowed. So those are some of the discussions we'll have, and sometimes they have ideas for us to bounce off. I know for the last couple of years, and it's kind of a big project. We've had some both co-ops and growers talk about the it'd be P29 where
Yeah.
it crosses New 20. And, you cross New 20, and of course that's a yield sign in the middle. We really wish the state would have maybe made that a little bigger, because it does get a little tight with a semi.
Mhm.
If you got to sit in the
Yeah.
middle there, and then you go about the next mile, well, then see there's a four-way stop, and we've had a lot of producers that would like to see that stop sign headed north eliminated, because in a truck you're kind of stopping and starting a lot of times.
Mhm.
And I know we've talked about it. There's some cost because the road actually doesn't. The road's designed actually to go east and west without stopping, not north and south.
North
So
and
there would have
south.
to be some grading and some build up, but
Mhm.
it's small things like that we've talked about and kicked around. And, maybe someday that it would enhance the traffic flow north going to the ag park and
Mhm.
whatnot. We've had a lot of people, they'll come to us and what can we do to get a road that goes straight out of Moreland, well, that's crossing that Lizard Creek area. And I just don't think that's a practical. Different things, talk to the supervisors.
Straight out of Moreland.
Yep. So, but that'll be coming up. So, but yeah, I thought Eggs and Issues was good, and attendance was pretty good too.
Well, for the weather, I mean,
For the weather and being this early in the session.
and apparently there was a screw up. I don't know if we did it on this radio station or what, but some people went over to the cafeteria.
I met Sexton over there.
Did you?
Yeah, and from what I understand, the college had something planned. Last minute we were at, there was something planned, but Mr. Kirsten got
He got that done.
He got that done, and then I think from here on out, we're just going to stay over in the bioscience building.
That's either way.
So
Either way,
they had donuts either place. So I
yes,
think
they did.
We're good.
I had
good
a
to go.
great big old twister, and Crying Brink had to come over and say something about that. I was really being badly treated by our representatives.
I guess you're just loved.
I'm very sensitive. I guess they don't understand that, but
Yeah, but there was a lot of topics covered, and but like I said, it's really new, and it all blends in now. I think when some of our biggest topics were fireworks and bottle bills, that really it's not too detrimental. I don't think. To
well,
anyone.
I don't. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm surprised we had to go through all that with fireworks. My God, let people have a little fun. God Almighty.
So, but then I guess other big news, I guess, for us in the agriculture side is we got the government back open, at least temporarily.
Now we're talking.
So I don't know at what capacity. It's not like they can just flip a switch. There's I'm sure there's a process, and hopefully about the time they do get back up to 100%, we don't close it down again. So, but that's on agriculture wise. That's going to allow some growers to get back in and process their market facilitation payments, which are basically some of the offset to the Trump the tariffs and some of those payments that have President Trump approved.
Right.
And the other thing, and I think on February 8th is kind of we have weekly crop reportings, and those we have crop reports at the government level, and then we have a lot of private. So I think February 8th, hopefully, we'll probably delay on some reports. So since the government's open, like this morning, I seen there was like a little over 1 million metric tons of corn shipped. I believe it was to it might have been South Korea, but it's a little cryptic because they don't know where it's coming from. So I don't know if it's coming from the United States or South America, but we're starting to see those reports kind of come back in so we can get a better feel of how our markets are, because we've kind of been flying on autopilot here for the better part of the month now. So some of those reports are going to come in. It might shuffle the markets around here, and then there's a lot of growers too that there's some products where they actually seal their grain and the government gives loans against it, and some inconvenience for a lot of and stuff like that. They're trying to make plans for this year, but those offices were shut down. So hopefully we can keep these things open and get some of that done at the American Farm Bureau at our annual meeting. I did find it curious that one of the proclamations that we passed down there, and that was put forth by our Iowa delegation, was we want to deem the FSA as an essential government service.
Oh, really?
And it was right after that meeting that, regardless if the government opened or not, the FSAs were going to open anyway.
They were going to open.
So we must have got through to President Trump about declaring that as an essential service.
Well, he's been a little sensitive about harming some of his voting bloc.
Sure, his Midwestern voting bloc.
Yeah,
and so we'll see. If how that goes forward, and but it is kind of, I guess, a relief to get back to business as normal, and hopefully our markets and stuff. Because, like I said, we were doing a lot of guesstimating, and a lot of unknown numbers kept swirling. So it'll be interesting to see, after being a month away, how close our guesses were and how the market reacts there.
Mm-hmm.
So I know we'd all kind of patiently waiting for a little uptick in prices right now. So
how's that going? We tried to talk about it a little bit last week, but the trade war goes on.
Trade war does go on.
Yeah.
But there's bits and pieces that are, I think that's kind of what a lot of us are hanging on to. I seen a report today where the European Union, which now that's a whole nother, Great Britain over there, they're having a heck of a time trying to figure out how they're going to end Brexit. If it's going to be how that is going to end. Is it just going to be cut off like tomorrow it's over, or if there's going to be some trade deals, with long tails, how that's
there's people of the big banks and some big businesses are trying to put the brakes on leaving.
Sure.
On leaving the EU.
But how that's going to happen. But anyway, the European Union, which is they today, out of part of the negotiations, and I think this was kind of a ball out of left field, really. They are going to allow our GMO corn or our GMO soybeans to be imported to the European Union for the production of biofuels, which that's something that's unheard of, I guess, in recent years. They've always been very close-minded on any of our genetically modified crops that come out of America. So, which is kind of weird because they will import them from other countries, but they've exclusively not done it from the United States. So there evidently has been some dialogue there. And then, we're pushing forward with some trade pacts with Japan. And it seems like we're making headway there. Next week is when the high-level delegation comes from China and is going to come to Washington. So hopefully we'll see some news made, in a positive fashion there.
All right. Steve Peters is our guest. This is the time of week we have the Farm Bureau in. And Steve, of course, is a past president. It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. We'll be back right after the news at KVFD Fort Dodge.
Straight talk on life and money. This is the Dave Ramsey Show on the voice of Fort Dodge, AM 1400, KVFD, Fort Dodge.
Millions of Americans are taking the plunge on Lisa Brady, Fox News. It already feels like 15 below zero in Chicago, on the way to a wind chill of minus 50 tomorrow morning.
So within the next couple of hours, we are going to see wind chills advisories stretching over a huge portion here from the plains across the Great Lakes states, even getting down along the Ohio River Valley, places like Kentucky, at least included in some of the watches, because the temperatures are going to be so drastically cold.
Fox meteorologist Adam Klotz. Central Alabama has been getting some light snow today. Possible icing, also a concern from Mississippi to Georgia. A temporary thaw in Washington in the border wall debate. Less than 3 weeks before the temporary spending bill that ended the partial government shutdown runs out. Fox's Jared Halpern, live on Capitol Hill.
The House and Senate committee now charged with negotiating a border security deal will begin work this week. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell says the committee should not be limited.
But whatever works, which means avoiding a shutdown and avoiding the president feeling he should declare a national emergency.
Minority Leader Chuck Schumer says President Trump should stay out of negotiations.
When he mixes in, it's a formula for failure.
So I'd ask President Trump, let Congress deal with it on its own.
And Democrats have rejected providing any money for a border wall, but proposals have included upgrades to existing physical structures. Lisa.
Thanks, Jared. The FBI finds no clear motive for the mass shooting in Las Vegas that left 58 people dead, hundreds wounded, more than a year ago. Federal investigators say the gunman, Stephen Paddock, was intent on doing maximum damage and gaining some form of infamy. But beyond that, they don't know why he did it. Las Vegas police also concluded their probe last summer with no motive. Mixed finish on Wall Street. The Dow up 52 points at the closing bell, but the S&P and the NASDAQ lower. This is Fox News.
I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans, America's premier home purchase lender. Today's fluctuating interest rates can leave you with unexpected higher mortgage payments. At Quicken Loans, we've created a new way to protect you from unpredictable interest rates so you can buy a home with certainty. It's called Rate Shield, and here's how it works. With Rate Shield, you can lock your interest rate while you shop for a new home. So if rates go up, you don't have to worry. And here's the best part. If rates go down, you get the lower rate. With Rate Shield, we really have you covered. Here are more reasons why you'll want to work with America's largest mortgage lender. For 9 years in a row now, J.D. Power has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation in customer satisfaction for primary mortgage origination. And for the 5th year in a row, they've also ranked us highest in the nation for mortgage servicing. Rate Shield, another way we can save you money on your mortgage. Call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
Based on Rocket Mortgage data in comparison to public data records. Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year purchase transactions. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender license in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030. Additional conditions or exclusions may apply.
Long search for common ground in the British Parliament. Lawmakers chipping away at amendments after the recent failure of the Prime Minister's Brexit plan for leaving the European Union. Fox's Simon Owen is live in London.
Lisa, Parliament has just voted 7 times on various amendments put forward by lawmakers to Prime Minister Theresa May's Brexit divorce plan, which was crushed 2 weeks ago.
The ayes to the right, 317.
Among the results, Justin, lawmakers saying they will back May's proposal if she secures changes to the deal on managing the Irish border. May saying she will take that back to the EU. One problem, the president of France saying today that the deal isn't up for renegotiation. Lisa?
Thanks, Simon. The EU says the current deal with the UK remains the, quote, best and only way for an orderly Brexit. Not just students, but parents might face a dress code in one state.
A mix of reactions to Tennessee Representative Antonio Parkinson's proposed bill to enforce a dress code on all parents visiting schools in the state. The Democrat says he drafted the measure after hearing a number of concerns from teachers and parents. The goal, to prevent school visitors from wearing sexually suggestive clothing or anything that promotes gang activity. Some adults feel it's a much-needed policy. Others feel policing parents is disrespectful. One taking to social media to say, "I think we have enough laws to lock us up." The bill would require the code of conduct to be posted on every school entrance in the state. Kristen Goodwin, Fox News.
So recapping the mixed finish on Wall Street again, the Dow up about 52 points at the closing bell, but the S&P slips 3 points, the NASDAQ down 57, ahead of a closely watched earnings report due out from Apple. I'm Lisa Brady. And this is Fox News.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
Good afternoon. I'm Alex Benzagal with the KVFD Afternoon News. Many federal workers and others are highly concerned we'll face another government shutdown when the current extension expires on February 15th. Iowa Senator Chuck Grassley, a Republican, says he's hopeful we've learned a lesson and that House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, a Democrat, can reach a compromise with President Trump to solve the standoff.
Well, I would hope that Pelosi now would negotiate and not just say no as she has in the past. I think the president's shown more flexibility than I thought he would show.
A possible fix has emerged, what's being called an automatic continuing resolution, which Grassley says could end government shutdowns forever.
Pretty simple. Get up to September 30th, all the appropriation bills aren't passed. You don't shut down the government. You just continue to spend money at the level you did the last fiscal year until the appropriation bills get passed.
Most of the 800,000 federal workers who were furloughed or forced to work without pay were able to return to work yesterday. The 35-day partial federal government shutdown began on December 22nd and was the longest in U.S. history. A man has pleaded not guilty to killing an Iowa high school student in 1979. Records say 65-year-old Jerry Burns filed a written plea Friday in Lynn County District Court. The charge is first-degree murder. His trial starting date has not been set. He remains in custody pending $5 million bail. Police arrested the Manchester business owner on December 19th, 39 years to the day after 18-year-old Michelle Martinko was killed. Her body was found the next day inside her family's car at a Cedar Rapids mall. She had been stabbed in the face and chest. Police say investigators matched a blood sample from the crime scene with a sample taken from Burns. The National Weather Service has been warning Iowans of life-threatening wind chills blowing across the state this week. The worst conditions are expected late tonight into Wednesday with wind chills of 40 to 50 below zero. Lori Morrison with Floyd Valley Healthcare in Lamar says frostbite can happen very quickly when skin is exposed to this kind of cold.
It can just be a matter of minutes, particularly if you're not using the right kind of precautions and bundling up appropriately for it. It does not take long at all.
The first symptoms of frostbite involve a prickly feeling followed by numbness.
And then from there, you're going to start seeing redness. It's your body trying to react and get circulation going. From there, it almost turns into that white color. And when it starts looking kind of that pale white, you're starting to get into some danger zones.
Forecasters predict this will be Iowa's coldest snap in more than 20 years. In addition to protecting yourself from this extreme cold, Morrison says pets should remain indoors. This has been Alex Benzagal with the KVFD Afternoon News. Have a great day.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. A wind chill warning continues until noon Thursday. Overcast this afternoon with a chance of flurries. High of 1 below. Northwesterly winds 10 to 20 miles per hour. Clear skies tonight. Lows level off around 24 below. Sunny skies again tomorrow. High of 12 below. A dusting of snow Thursday. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Right now, 2 below.
This is John Greenhut, and if your teeth are stained from coffee, tea, or smoking, Power Swabs is the answer. In 5 minutes, you'll see 2 shades whiter teeth, and in 7 days, 6 shades. Even better, there's no messy strips or trays that you'll have to leave in your mouth for an hour. Just swab your teeth for 5 minutes, and you're done. To try Power Swabs, call 1-800-679-0969. Your bright white smile will have your friends talking about how great you look. Try it risk-free. 1-800-679-0969. That's 1-800-679-0969.
We stand for people, progress and pride. Iowa Farm Bureau's by your side.
We're the Iowa Farm Bureau, and we believe in Iowa's future. We support Iowa's youth, encourage ag innovations, and nurture new business opportunities in rural communities. We're a century strong and growing. To learn more, contact your local county farm bureau.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Listen to this.
Making radio great again.
Can I ask you something, but without you taking it the wrong way?
Sure.
Are you stupid?
Michael Devine. A lot of people like that show. But because you need more than a newspaper.
Email, online, surfing the web, HTML, good buddy.
At AM 1400 KVFD.
You definitely need more than a newspaper. Rejoice, Fort Dodge writes, you have it right here at this radio station. This part of the program, of course, brought to you by the Webster County Farm Bureau. Steve Peterson with the Webster County Farm Bureau. He's past president and current delegate with the Farm Bureau. He's with us here in studio, and Steve has come prepared again today, thank God. I found out 2 things today. First of all, this is a minor thing, really. Supervisor Dinklaw, Keith Dinklaw, called when you and I first went on in the last half hour to tell us the Webster County Courthouse will be closed tomorrow due to the extreme weather, which is probably a good call.
There's probably nothing at the courthouse that's worth risking tomorrow for the weather.
Boy, I would think not. I hate to have, some people are going to get out there and try to get into the courthouse no matter what, and boy, I know we're cold weather people. I mean, I know
Right.
that, man, you can get in big trouble pretty fast.
Yeah.
If your car or truck all of a sudden decides not to run.
Yeah, and then you have something like that. Of course, you're going to get emergency responders. There's a lot of people that just puts into action, and I'm sure we can cover everything here in Webster County. But if you can prevent it, I don't know that a day is really worth it for renewing a license or or whatnot. There's gonna, what are they talking? Almost in the 40s,
Yeah.
That's a heck of a temperature swing. When you
Oh, yeah.
go from 20 below to 40 above, that's 60-degree swing. And
Overnight, ladies and gentlemen, overnight, the wind chill factor temperature could be 50 degrees below zero or even a little more. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. So,
and then again on Saturday, 41 degrees.
Yeah. So, hey, it's
not below zero either.
It's Iowa. So,
boy, even by Iowa standards, that's pretty crazy. But yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So, I mean, heck, it's just unreal. The weather is so unpredictable right now. And we've, I think we've probably froze and thawed out in the fields, well, at least twice and maybe 3 times. And, Mother Nature does some of the best tillage for us by, the freeze thaw effect. A lot of times we only get it once and it's pretty effective. But I know, talking to the guys that do the tiling, here just a couple weeks ago, they were the frost was pretty much out of the ground, or what they would refer to as rotted frost out in the fields. And so I'm assuming we're putting some frost back in the ground right now. And without the snow cover, at least in this part of the state, now you go down towards Des Moines and in other parts of the state, they actually have considerable more snow than we do here locally.
Oh, they do. Cedar Rapids had plenty of snow. I was there over the weekend.
But that snow acts as a blanket, which actually where we don't have that cover now, this frost could go pretty deep pretty quick, especially at these temperatures. So water lines, I don't know if we're going to get in any danger of freezing some of them or not, but yeah, it's something to keep an eye on. And the farmers with livestock, they don't get to take a day off, so they're going to be out and they're going to be making sure the waters are free and flowing and feeds flowing, and it just makes everything a lot harder.
Yeah,
to do.
Sure,
the cold weather.
It makes it a lot harder for me to get out of the house and come to work. Frankly,
yeah. So, but so there's going to be people out and about, and in front of my house every day. It's unreal the amount of trucks that go by with feed and and hauling livestock and
you got to do it.
Yep, it's got to be done. And I just on the way up, I seen the propane trucks out and about, and making sure propane tanks are full, and fuel trucks and whatnot. So
absolutely,
the life goes on in this cold weather. But,
yes, it does. Yes, it just does make life. Years ago, back in the 1980s, during the farm crisis, everybody was leaving the state, and I came home from work one day. And it was 50 degrees below zero wind chill factor temperature. We had one of those old aluminum doors, remember? We had a detached garage.
Oh, okay.
And I parked in the garage, and I was going in the side entrance of the house. We had an old aluminum door, and I reached to open that old aluminum door, the outside door, and the handle broke right in my hand. It had crystallized. It just broke to pieces. We went down to North Carolina for a couple of years after that. We tried it in warmer weather. Actually, we made a lot of money down there, but we weren't Southerners, so we came on home. But that was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back. It was so cold that I believe that was the summer when I tried to make a left turn. I hadn't let my car warm up, and I tapped my turn signal with my finger, and the doggone thing broke off the column.
Yeah.
So I was getting a little tired of that.
And then unfortunately, I'm on a volunteer fire department, and it seems like we always the worst weather days of the year sometimes when we have some incidents.
You're earning your big money when you get out there in this weather and fight a fire.
You do, but this seems to be also the time when people are bringing out the extra space heaters and a little supplemental heat, and unfortunately sometimes some bad things can happen. So I got to encourage everyone to be a little precautious and safe, and
absolutely.
Those things work great, but they're you just got to be careful with them.
Sure.
So,
I said I learned 2 things in the last segment, and one of the things that I learned is that the Farm Bureau in every county in Iowa, all 99 counties, meets privately, or do you meet publicly with the county?
Well, it's the Farm Bureau meetings are public, so they're technically a public meeting.
Right.
So
this will be a meeting separate from the regular Tuesday morning Board of Supervisors meeting.
Well, our meetings are at night, but we've coordinated, I think, with
Your meetings. By you mean the Webster,
the Farm Bureau, the Farm Bureau meetings.
Right.
Yes. We invite the supervisors to come sit down.
Oh, the
with
supervisors come to your meeting.
Yep,
You don't
they-
go to theirs.
Correct.
Oh,
correct. And then we present us with the budgets and whatnot. We kind of have a chance to mingle and talk about them, and they kind of go through it. And if we have any questions, and like I said, it's the Farm Bureau is always we are a rural body.
Sure.
And we're strictly looking at it from a rural perspective.
Absolutely.
And to my knowledge, and around here, I've never known of any challenges, I guess, to the actual budget. We're pretty fortunate around here. I think our elected officials have done a pretty good job, and they have a long-term plan, of what's going to go on and this and that. But it's just part of the dialogue. Sometimes, just like at Eggs and Issues, Representative Meyer was talking about the SAVE program, and that's your sales tax that's put to schools, so they can bond against it and whatnot. And in a nutshell, that is set to sunset in about 10 years from now. Well, the problem is they need to look out further than 10 years from now if they're going to pay those bonds back. So it's kind of irresponsible to have it, shut down in 10 years if you need to go out 20 years or such. So, that's something that Farm Bureau has addressed is an important issue to us, but technically that's an issue that really isn't an issue for another 10 years.
Right.
So we're very proactive in that stance. And
well, I said 10 years out, you are proactive.
Well, yeah, but it's best to do business sometimes there, because sometimes if you wait till year 9 and that's when things can get hastily done and whatnot. And a lot of times those discussions are a lot easier to have now than they are down the road. So that's an issue I know was one of them that when we talked to the legislator, that was a priority for us. It was the SAVE. If that went away, some of our fear is that maybe some of these expenditures would come back on the property tax owners. Because
right.
The schools are kind of limited to how they can fund themselves and do projects and whatnot. And so that, we encourage that discussion this year. And that was, I know one of the things she was on right away. So
where do your kids go to school?
Well, I don't currently have any kids in school. Mine, my daughter went to St. Ed's.
Okay.
So,
all right.
Yep.
You got them out of school already?
Out of school, out of college.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I didn't think you were that old.
I'm doing good.
I guess you are.
I started early.
Well, that's okay. That's all right.
Yeah,
Nothing wrong with that.
No, my daughter went to St. Ed's. So.
Okay.
And then I went to Cedar Valley, which is the old, that's about 4 mergers ago, I think now. It's hard to keep track, actually.
It really is. It really is. I should try to find out where the schools are now. I don't know. But,
so and then other issues that we've talked to them about were at the end of the last year's legislative session, kind of at the last minute. And you got to realize, go back a year, they were hunting for money, and there was a lot of pots of money that were a little inadequately funded, and somehow, some way, at the last minute, the funding for the beginning farmer tax credit kind of got gutted, and they took about half the funds out of it, and that's a program. And I know tax credits are a little divisive and different opinions, but that's a pretty usually it's a very bipartisan program.
Well, I did want to ask you about that, though. I mean, does a beginning farmer, what does that look like? I mean, if you're a farmer, usually you inherited the farm or something like that.
Potentially, but I used it personally when I came back, and I used the beginning farmer loan program. And what that basically did is it allowed me to go to my local lender, and I was able to secure a loan at a reduced interest rate, and which was kind of supplemented. So there was a little kickback from the state to the bank, but that allowed me to build a relationship with my local lender to get into farming. And then there was also some tax credits that were used from the landowners that would be either renting or crop sharing or whatever arrangement you come up with a beginning farmer to have them farm their land, and and these programs are not infinite. I eventually graduated out of that program, and they're pretty they have pretty set rules and definitions, and there is a little bit of confusion sometimes because at the FSA office, I know you are a beginning farmer for 10 years. It doesn't matter if you're 18 or 58.
You're a beginning farmer for 10 years.
10 years. And I believe, at least that's the way they used to. It was 10 years of having a Schedule F. And the Schedule F is basically your tax form that fills out when you're involved in an agricultural entity. The state's beginning farmer, that had calculations of net worth, and basically it forces you to go to the bank and build that relationship with the banker and develop a net worth statement and a cash flow statement, all good things that a new farmer should have and understand. So there was some dollar amounts or benchmarks. When you hit that, you were kicked out. Now, if that happened in 1 year or 20 years, you were still technically beginning. So different benchmarks, I guess. What is in Farm Bureau, we have a young farmer program. We don't necessarily coin it as a beginning farmer. And what that does, and I think that taps out, around age 36. And what that does, we have a lot of programs and meetings, and it's a good networking tool for people to get together and talk and learn about the processes and what's available out there. So a lot of different entities involved, a lot of, not saying they're all the same classifications, but basically the end of last year at the state level, I think they had about a $12 million budget and it got halved to $6 million. But there was a lot of prior commitments to fulfill the contracts because a lot of these contracts are 5 years or so. So the money was already spoken for, so they couldn't bring anyone new into the program. So we're not asking to expand it. We're just asking for that to be filled and made whole again so that program can work in how it was designed to. And I believe when that was initiated, I was one of the first ones that got it. I think I was like number 300 when it started, and I believe it was a program. It was Tom Vilsack's vision that actually initiated that beginning farmer deal.
How long have you been farming?
In 07 was my first year.
07?
Yeah, when I came back.
Right.
So I'd always help my dad and my grandpa farm, but 07 is when I came back and started what I would consider myself a farmer.
Are your grandfather and father still living? Or?
No, they're not.
They're both gone.
Yep, both gone. So, but yeah, so some of those programs, there was some other legislation I know that Representative Sexton put forward here. I got a chance to talk to him just a little bit off the side this week at Eggs and Issues, and that had to do, there's some language with the farm plates and the DOT. Right now, like I have a semi and I have it licensed under a farm plate, which restricts me and how far I can go and, licenses and whatnot. But
cheap gas or diesel.
No, that we still pay our road tax.
Yeah.
We don't get that on a.
You don't get it. You don't get it on a semi? Really? The farmers with a farm plate?
We still put road fuel in. We cannot put our dyed off-road fuel in. So
you can't.
We pay road tax, and just like a commercial truck.
I thought that would allow you to put the dyed diesel in.
No, we cannot. We still pay our road taxes and our, that kind of stuff. We do pay a reduced rate on our plate, but we are limited. Right now, we pay a 32-ton plate on an 18-wheel semi, and then we have a 25% overage. So that gets you to the 80,000 pounds.
I used to have a pickup. Well, I've had pickups over the years, and I used to like it, though. We only used to have to pay no matter. I had brand new pickups. I was only paying $50 for a plate every year.
And that, from my understanding, has went away too, because
that did go away.
Unless you have a Schedule F and that vehicle's depreciated, that's kind of how we get
Schedule F. Is that some kind?
That's the farming tax form.
Thing?
And then you can qualify, and there's some restrictions of business trade plates and whatnot. But the average person, the old pickup scam won't work anymore.
Bummer.
With the cheap plate. But anyway, I know Mr. Sexton and I think Senator Kreinbrink put together some language to possibly up the tonnage on the farm plates, which currently right now you could not use a triple axle trailer or a quad axle semi.
You can't use it
because you're only limited to that 80,000 pounds. So you don't have the ability to buy a heavier license.
Okay.
Which Saturday I got a chance to talk to some other people, and I was like, well, what's your feeling on that? And most of the road people would prefer to have more axles. That's all put down. So that's kind of interesting for that and whatnot. But yeah, I can't take my semi, I think more than 150 miles from home. We do put regular clear
on green in the winter when we weren't on the road, but
right. And, but there's also, you can't go run commercial if you're going to be on that farm plate. So I do know quite a few farmers that do run their trucks as commercial entities also, and they run that basically as a side business. And whether
I thought it was a pretty average eggs and issues. That's a great question. Kreinbrink was talking about something that was going to stick with me, but I really can't bring it to mind right now.
I thought Tim was very systematic at going through the approach.
He was.
He was trying to lay out the approach, and he went pretty deep in a couple subjects that I think he lost some people a little bit, or they got bored.
Yeah, I was kind of paying attention to the gambling bill.
Yeah,
I do think that the counties who have casinos in them have been sitting on a pretty good pile of money for a long time. It would be better if there was a more just.
I've heard that process. Again, going back to, I'm on a volunteer fire department. I write grants for that. So, and we're also in Calhoun County. We butt up to Greene County, and with that, and each county in the state gets about $110,000 roughly per year. And then with the Greene County, they pay the touching counties around it. It's another 40,000-50,000.
Right.
And they did that down there to try to sell it that they were and share alike.
They sure picked it with that Jefferson Casino. Webster County.
They have to by law spend X amount of money in Webster County and Calhoun County, we're in that 100 a year, and you have to spend it. So once all the ball diamonds are built, once all the bleachers are there, once all the flagpoles are
sure,
you kind of start getting a little foolish on how you spend your money. It's criticized that way. They get real creative up in Northwood how they spend it in that area. And
what are they doing in Northwood?
Well,
that was another weird place to have a casino.
I've heard they've got stuff for the kids in the community colleges up there. Tuition, which ends up being a good tool to recruit people to move in.
Great tool.
But they have to get pretty creative because they are by law obligated to spend this money, in that area. So it'll be interesting. But I've definitely heard that argument, and if the state's going to pick the winners and losers, then they should share alike in the proceeds.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And I think that was kind of the consensus I got from our local elected officials too. Was at least they wanted to look at that.
Well, I hope they do.
So
Steve Peters has been our guest in this portion of the program, brought to you by the Webster County Farm Bureau. Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Mike.
This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Listen to this.
Making radio great again.
Can I ask you something, but without you taking it the wrong way?
Sure.
Are you stupid?
If you don't listen to him, you suck.
He's sneaky, but he's right.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
All right, 3:33, very cold. The news is next.
I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans, America's premier home purchase lender. Today's fluctuating interest rates can leave you with unexpected higher mortgage payments. At Quicken Loans, we've created a new way to protect you from unpredictable interest rates so you can buy a home with certainty. It's called Rate Shield, and here's how it works. With Rate Shield, you can lock your interest rate while you shop for a new home. So if rates go up, you don't have to worry. And here's the best part. If rates go down, you get the lower rate. With Rate Shield, we really have you covered. Here are more reasons why you'll want to work with America's largest mortgage lender. For 9 years in a row now, J.D. Power has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation in customer satisfaction for primary mortgage origination. And for the 5th year in a row, they've also ranked us highest in the nation for mortgage servicing. Rate Shield, another way we can save you money on your mortgage. Call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
Based on Rocket Mortgage data in comparison to public data records. Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year purchase transactions. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender licensed in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030. Additional conditions or exclusions may apply.
Tough as nails, nerves of steel. If you've come to test our metal, you better tighten up your chin strap. Get amped up for all the great iron action on the Panther Sports Network.
University of Northern Iowa Sports are brought to you on the Voice of Fort Dodge, AM 1400 KVFD by Mitch Lund State Farm, Party Productions, The Other Store, and New Age Media. Catch UNI Sports right here on the Voice of Fort Dodge, AM 1400 KVFD.
What if I told you there was a way to step into another gear for your brain and be much sharper, more focused, and improve your memory to a level that you could only dream about and notice these results in 30 minutes? Hard to believe? Neuroscientists are calling this new brain discovery the biggest advancement in brain science to date. It's called Limitless, the brain pill of the future. Take it, and within 30 minutes, you'll transport your mind to a new level of focus and clarity you would have never thought possible.
I took Limitless, and it started working in minutes. All of a sudden, it felt like a dark cloud had been lifted up right before my eyes. I have a mental clarity I've never felt before.
Biz execs, athletes, teachers, and students are calling Limitless a secret weapon for the brain. You have nothing to lose, so call now and find out how to get a free bottle today.
To find out how to get your free bottle of Limitless, call 800-681-9041. That's 800-681-9041. Free bottle for a limited time. Call now, 800-681-9041, 800-681-9041.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
Good afternoon. I'm Alex Benzagal with the KVFD Afternoon News. Many federal workers and others are highly concerned we'll face another government shutdown when the current extension expires on February 15th. Iowa Senator Chuck Grassley, a Republican, says he's hopeful we've learned a lesson and that House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, a Democrat, can reach a compromise with President Trump to solve the standoff.
Well, I would hope that Pelosi now would negotiate and not just say no as she has in the past. I think the president's shown more flexibility than I thought he would show.
A possible fix has emerged, what's being called an automatic continuing resolution, which Grassley says could end government shutdowns forever.
Pretty simple. Get up to September 30th. All the appropriation bills aren't passed. You don't shut down the government. You just continue to spend money at the level you did the last fiscal year until the appropriation bills get passed.
Most of the 800,000 federal workers who were furloughed or forced to work without pay were able to return to work yesterday. The 35-day partial federal government shutdown began on December 22nd and was the longest in U.S. history. A man has pleaded not guilty to killing an Iowa high school student in 1979. Records say 65-year-old Jerry Burns filed a written plea Friday in Lynn County District Court. The charge is first-degree murder. His trial starting date has not been set. He remains in custody pending $5 million bail. Police arrested the Manchester business owner on December 19th, 39 years to the day after 18-year-old Michelle Martinko was killed. Her body was found the next day inside her family's car at Cedar Rapids Mall. She had been stabbed in the face and chest. Police say investigators matched a blood sample from the crime scene with a sample taken from Burns. The National Weather Service has been warning Iowans of life-threatening wind chills blowing across the state this week. The worst conditions are expected late tonight into Wednesday with wind chills of 40 to 50 below zero. Lori Morrison with Floyd Valley Healthcare in Lamar says frostbite can happen very quickly when skin is exposed to this kind of cold.
You know, it can just be a matter of minutes, particularly if you're not using the right kind of precautions and bundling up appropriately for it. It does not take long at all.
The first symptoms of frostbite involve a prickly feeling followed by numbness.
And then from there, you're going to start seeing redness. It's your body trying to react and get circulation going. From there, it almost turns into that white color. And when it starts looking kind of that pale white, you know you're starting to get into some danger zones.
Forecasters predict this will be Iowa's coldest snap in more than 20 years. In addition to protecting yourself from this extreme cold, Morrison says pets should remain indoors. This has been Alex Benzagal with the KVFD Afternoon News. Have a great day.
This is AM 1400, KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge, 338. First of all, in the weather, dangerous cold, wind chill factor warning in effect from now until noon on Thursday. Again, a wind chill factor warning. It's not a watch, anything like that. It is a wind chill factor warning from now until 12 o'clock Thursday. There should be a little snow after 5 o'clock this afternoon. Nothing serious. Sunny, very, very cold. Our high will be 0. I don't even know if we're going to make it. Wind chill factor temperatures, even this afternoon into the early evening, 30 degrees below 0. Overnight, mostly cloudy, gradually becoming clear with a low of 25 degrees below 0, perhaps 50 degrees below 0. This is dangerous cold. Please be careful when you're driving from town to town. If there was ever going to be a 36-hour period where you needed to be cautious of the extreme cold, this is it. Tomorrow, sunny, very cold, high temperature, 12 degrees below 0. All day tomorrow, our wind chill factor temperatures will be 50 degrees below 0 and more. Again, very dangerous wind chill factor temperatures. Thursday, a chance of snow, mostly cloudy and cold, a high of 4. Friday, sunny with a high of 19. Saturday, this terrible cold gets out of our hair, thank God. On Saturday, it'll be sunny with a high of 40. Sunday, chance of rain and snow with a high of 35. On Monday, chance of snow, mostly cloudy, and a high of 31. Right now, our temperature is 2 degrees below 0. Wind chill factor temperature probably 30 degrees below 0 and more in some areas. Unusual cold. It's staying with us for a while. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. Obituaries this hour brought to us by Loftus Filer Seavers Funeral Home and Cremation Services at 307 South 12th Street in Fort Dodge. You may contact Loftus Filer Seavers Funeral Home and Cremation Services by calling 515-576-3156 or online at www.loftusfilerseaversfuneralhome.com. Carol Lee Vincent has died at the age of 75. There will be a service for Carol Lee Vincent at 10:30 in the morning Friday at Loftus Filer Seavers Funeral Home with visitation from 5 to 7, or from 5:30 to 7:30 tomorrow night, of course, at the funeral home. Sonora Rose Rickless has died at the very young age of 25. A celebration of the life of Sonora Rose Rickless will be held at a later date. Obituaries this hour brought to us by Loftus Filer Seavers Funeral Home and Cremation Services at 307 South 12th Street, Fort Dodge. You may contact Loftus Filer Seavers Funeral Home and Cremation Services by calling 515-576-3156 or online at www.loftusfilerseaversfuneralhome.com. It's 3:40 AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge, with a look at the closing market report. Here's Dwayne Murley.
Here's a look at how the markets closed today. March corn down 2.5 at 377 1/4. May down 2 1/4 at 386. July corn down 2.5 at 393 3/4. September down 2 1/4 at 396 1/4. March soybeans closed down 4 1/4 at 919. May down 4 1/4 at 932 3/4. July down 4.5 cents at 945 1/4. August down 4 1/4 at 950 1/4. March wheat closed down 5.5 at 513 1/4. Soybean meal down 40 cents a ton at 311.80. February live cattle up 7 cents at 126.47. April up 42 at 127.80. January feeder cattle down 82 cents at 142.65. March down a dime at 144 1/4. February lean hogs closed down 65 cents at 57.32. April up 22 at 62.55. From the farm desk, I'm Dwayne Murley.
Wash avocados before eating them, and any fruits and vegetables for that matter. Hi, I'm Julie Harker with Healthy Living on Brownfield. The Food and Drug Administration recently warned that 17% of avocado skin samples tested showed Listeria bacteria. But we don't eat the skin. How can it still be a food safety risk? Because the knife you use to cut into the skin can drag any bacteria into the fruit or vegetable inside and cause contamination. Bacteria can also be picked up by handling the fruit or vegetables. When you peel fruit by hand, such as an orange, if there's bacteria on the outside, it can transfer onto the inside, the part you will be eating. But what does washing your produce really mean? It means rinsing it in running water thoroughly. But first, wash your hands with soap for 20 seconds and give them a rinse. So here's what you do next. The FDA advises first cutting away any damaged or bruised areas of the produce. Then rinse the foods under running water, but do not use any soap, detergent, bleach, or commercial food washes. Use a clean produce brush to firmly scrub melons, cucumbers, and avocados, any fruits or vegetables like that have a firm skin. Dry the produce with a clean paper towel or a clean cloth. The FDA says bagged produce labeled pre-washed is safe to eat without washing anymore, but it wouldn't hurt to rinse it again before eating. I'm Julie Harker with Healthy Living on Brownfield.
Not completing high school is more of a social thing than it was an academic thing. Even though all these years have passed, I still had that longing to have my diploma.
At age 30, Carissa finished her high school diploma.
If you're even considering getting your high school diploma, you can do it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Long ago, you wouldn't think of galloping on a horse while doing calligraphy, and you wouldn't have attempted to ride your bike while typing a letter. Yet you think you can safely operate a multi-ton vehicle while texting? Behind the wheel is no place to multitask. If you want to BRB, drive now and text later. Lives depend on it.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org, a message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, Noise, and the Ad Council.
What if I told you there was a way to step into another gear for your brain and be much sharper, more focused, and improve your memory to a level that you could only dream about and notice these results in 30 minutes? Hard to believe? Neuroscientists are calling this new brain discovery the biggest advancement in brain science to date. It's called Limitless, the brain pill of the future. Take it, and within 30 minutes, you'll transport your mind to a new level of focus and clarity you would have never thought possible.
I took Limitless and it started working in minutes. All of a sudden, it felt like a dark cloud had been lifted up right before my eyes. I have a mental clarity I've never felt before.
Biz execs, athletes, teachers, and students are calling Limitless a secret weapon for the brain. You have nothing to lose, so call now and find out how to get a free bottle today.
To find out how to get your free bottle of Limitless, call 800-681-9041. That's 800-681-9041. Free bottle for a limited time. Call now, 800-681-9041, 800-681-9041.
Divine Intervention is online at yourfortdodge.com, on Twitter at jmike1400.
This week on the Iowa Watch Connection, I will tell you that the Democratic chair and the Republican chair, we may disagree on a whole lot of things, but we do not disagree on how important this is for the state. It's a uniquely Iowa phenomenon.
It's going to be far more inclusive everywhere. And that excites me because I think that's good for Democrats and it's good for democracy.
But it's about to undergo some changes.
This just continues that process and tries to make sure that we can have a process that's open, honest, transparent, and allows as many people to participate as possible.
Iowa's presidential precinct caucuses, our topic this week.
The Iowa Watch Connection is presented by the Iowa Center for Public Affairs Journalism, online at iowawatch.org. Here is Jeff Stein.
A full 50 years ago, following the tumultuous 1968 election campaign, National Democrats sought to make the presidential nomination process more transparent, placing more power in the hands of voters instead of party leaders. Iowa Democrats adapted their precinct caucus system to elect delegates at the most local level, from precincts to county conventions, from there to district conventions, then to the state convention, and finally to the national convention. In order to go through that many steps, given technological limitations of the time, Iowa's 1972 caucuses were held on January 24th, and soon a first-in-the-nation tradition took hold. But after each election cycle, Iowa has to fight to keep its status. And as former state party chair and former Congressman Dave Nagel notes, it's led to a long alliance with New Hampshire, which holds the first primary in the nation every 4 years.
New Hampshire conducts a primary, which is state government run. Iowa conducts a caucus, which is run by the political parties. The state government is not involved. And that is as it should be, because the state government in New Hampshire says that we'll hold your selection process for you, but we won't tell you what to do. But this ultimately is a choice of the Iowa Democratic Party and the Republican Party in terms of how we want to select our nominee, not told by the government who we should select or tilted towards one candidate or another. But therein lies the problem. The DNC can't do anything to New Hampshire. They've tried in years past, but it's a state-run process, and Bill Gardner is adamant that he's going to be first primary in the nation, as he should be. We, on the other hand, are a creature requires the approval not of the state of Iowa, but our governing body, the Democratic National Committee. And so they set us on a road for conflict with New Hampshire by two requirements, one of which I think can be met and the other I'm not sure can. First is that we conduct a precinct caucus as a selection process, and we use delegates selected to the state convention or the county convention as a measuring stick of success for a candidate. Whoever gets the most delegates to the county convention, percentage-wise, wins the Iowa Democratic Caucus. New Hampshire is just absolutely adamant that we cannot go to a straw poll. They allow the Republicans to do so because they did that when this thing was originally created. So the DNC has now required Iowa to release raw totals as well as delegate equivalencies or delegate counts. So Iowa and New Hampshire, which with the PAC have never crowded each other. Once we do, we lose. Both of us will lose. Are now in a situation where the DNC has set up a conflict with New Hampshire for Iowa that we're going to have to try to work out. But at this point, we don't have any resolution of that.
Now, the Democratic National Committee has issued guidelines for the 2020 Iowa caucuses. I spoke to DNC Chair Tom Perez on September 24th about them.
We want to make sure that it's easier for people to participate. If you're a veteran and you're deployed overseas, that shouldn't preclude you from participating not only in the Iowa caucus, but in any caucus. If you are a person with a disability and you have a mobility impairment, you should make sure that any caucus site is accessible. If you are a shift worker or you have family care responsibilities, you should be able to participate. And we're working very closely with the party, and they have been exceedingly responsive. They were part of the group who helped us put together the series of reforms. And what happens when we're making these processes more inclusive is that more people participate. And that's what we want to do. Democrats want to make it easier for folks to vote. They want to make it easier for folks to participate. You look at what Republicans do across this country. They pass these horrible voter ID laws to make it harder for folks to participate. They're purging voters at ballot boxes. They're doing nothing in the White House in the face of Russian interference with elections. These are really important things, and I'm very confident that we're going to see a very robust caucus in 2020, and it's going to be far more inclusive everywhere, and that excites me because I think that's good for Democrats and it's good for democracy.
So Iowa and New Hampshire have made peace in terms of the changes in Iowa will not undermine the New Hampshire process. I know that was one of the concerns that folks in New Hampshire had.
I'm confident we can thread that needle. Very confident.
That all may be easier said than done, given the possible conflict between longtime allies Iowa and New Hampshire. But as Dave Nagel told me on October 5th, he has some ideas.
One thought that I had is that we can release raw totals, but not until after New Hampshire has held its process. And then try to get the Secretary of New Hampshire to agree that absentee ballot participation is not the same as a raw total. And hopefully that'll thread the needle. About half the people that supported Sanders think we ought to go to a primary in June because that would be fair and Bernie would have won. And half of them think we shouldn't be first anyway because, after all, who are we to tell the rest of the country what to do? Which goes back to the fundamental question, why do we start in small states? And they don't care. So we have a division inside our own party
The Democrats don't go it alone on this. Since 1976, Iowa Republicans have held similar but procedurally distinctive caucuses of their own, first in the nation, on the same night as the Democrats. The in-state alliance is important, as Republican Party of Iowa Chair Jeff Kaufman told me on September 27th. Talk about the relationship between the Republican Party of Iowa and the Iowa Democratic Party in working together to ensure that Iowa retains its status, and how has what they've been doing impacted what you're doing?
Absolutely. On any given day, I could literally have to send out a fairly strong, proactive contrast tweet that involves the Democratic Party, and then an hour later, talk about how we're going to join forces to make sure that our First of the Nation caucuses run well. It's the nature of this job. You don't take the negatives personally, and you have to realize at any given day it may go attack, get along, back and forth. Ultimately, what the Democrats' fate in First in the Nation, and they had a higher hill to climb in this, given the fact that there was a little bit more resistance to Iowa in the National Democratic Party. And I'll be honest with you, it's a lot easier this year with us. Donald Trump early on told me that we were going to be first in the nation. I mean, he looked me in the eye and said that. And every step of the way, like Donald Trump or not like Donald Trump, once again, kept his promise on First in the Nation. So I felt confident the entire way through, but I got to tell you, I was sincerely in the background rooting that Troy Price and the National Democrats were going to make sure that we were first in the nation. That's going to happen again. Now, Troy Price and I, the Democratic chair and I, we have to make sure that our caucuses run smoothly. We have the national glare on us. He has a bit more challenging situation because he's going to have a lot of candidates in here. And there's going to be candidates that are going to emerge and get a bump out of Iowa. My role is going to be making sure that independents realize that there is, the flaws in those Democrats coming through, but never are my words going to interfere with the ability of the Democrats to carry out their caucuses in a fair way. That would be irresponsible on my part and for this state. So yeah, it's the part of my job. It's about 25% of the job, and we must have a strong relationship between the two parties. Troy is my fourth Democratic chair that I've worked with, and honestly, every single one of them, there has been an element of trust. I think that the people of Iowa would be really proud to know what's happening behind the scenes, because I will tell you that the Democratic chair and the Republican chair, we may disagree on a whole lot of things, but we do not disagree on how important this is for the state.
I'm joined now by Aaron Murphy, Des Moines Bureau Chief for Lee Enterprises. From your perspective, covering the caucuses and the capital city, what might some of these changes do to the process and how Democrats in particular approach it as individuals are running for president?
Yeah, that'll be interesting. I don't know that it'll change a whole lot as far as I'm thinking specifically of the people who show up to caucus and how they decide which candidate they're going to support and all those sorts of things. I don't know that it'll have a huge influence on that. This is such an open process. You're literally standing in a room in front of everybody else declaring who you're supporting. I don't see any reason that would change, that these changes would affect how people approach that. The one big thing that it does change is, especially depending on how the absentee process works, is now that enters into someone's equation. I don't have to be there at 7:00 on this Tuesday night in the middle or in early February in the middle of winter. If I want to just send in an absentee ballot, I have that option now. That I assume will definitely factor into caucus goers' calculus. So that could be interesting to see. Caucus, how much that impacts caucus night turnout and overall numbers. Do we get more people overall, but fewer actually at the caucuses on caucus night? That could be interesting to watch.
There is a sense, though, that if you do broaden it beyond that night, In other words, opening up more of the absentee process. It may change how candidates approach things, but I'm not sure it will change it markedly. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. And again, the absentee thing being the biggest factor there, it'll be interesting to see how much candidates push that. That this is unique to a caucus situation. We know in normal elections, primaries and general elections, that campaigns make pushing early voting a huge deal. So now that that's an option in the caucuses, will they push that here in the caucuses, or will Iowa Democrats see something like that as unseemly towards the caucuses? Like, will they push back at someone saying, "Hey, don't bother going to the caucuses. You can vote absentee, and you're secured"? Iowa Democrat may not like that suggestion. So that's going to be fascinating for me to watch too.
Caucuses have multiple purposes, one of which, of course, is to begin the delegate selection process. That's the primary function of why they're held. But it is also a party building operation. The idea to work one-on-one with individuals, develop a deeper base. Are these changes, in your mind, going to enhance that party building or potentially have a negative effect on it, especially with the possibility of absentee?
Yeah, I could see that going either way. You know, you would think at the base of it, an absentee vote, maybe the option to vote absentee, maybe gets more people involved in the process, and as such, gets more people involved within the party, which would be good for the party. But you know, that's still not getting someone in the room that night. You're engaged, but you're not in the room. So is that? Do Democrats still think that's a good thing, or is there concern that kind of creates an option that creates some disconnect that doesn't keep someone as involved as they otherwise would be by showing up? So that's absolutely an interesting question to see what kind of impact that absentee option has on the party building aspect.
Aaron, thanks for the
This is
insight.
Dave Graveline. Be sure to listen to
going
Into Tomorrow right here on the voice of Fort Dodge, AM 1400 KVFD, Fort Dodge.
Dangerously cold. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News.
It's obvious, but I want to repeat it. If you don't need to be outside at this time, don't go outside.
That's Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel warning the public of wind chills that could sink to 50 below zero tomorrow morning. There have been advisories from the Dakotas to Pennsylvania, so cold it could take just minutes to suffer frostbite. States of emergency in Illinois, Wisconsin, and Michigan. In multiple large Midwestern cities, they've canceled hundreds of schools. Also, they're working with churches and nonprofits to help vulnerable people amid the deadly cold weather, especially concerned about the homeless. A medical helicopter on the way to pick up a patient in Ohio goes down. State officials say 3 people, the pilot and 2 nurses, were killed in a wooded area southeast of Columbus. The FAA investigating. Venezuela's disputed president Nicolas Maduro wants a bigger militia, announcing the new goal as the U.S. continues to back the opposition leader who declared himself president last week.
Hours after Venezuela's chief prosecutor asked the country's Supreme Court to ban opposition leader Juan Guaido from leaving the country and launched a criminal probe into his so-called anti-government activities, a response from President Trump's national security advisor, John Bolton, writing on Twitter, "We denounce the illegitimate former Venezuelan attorney general's threats against President Juan Guaido. Let me reiterate, there will be serious consequences for those who attempt to subvert democracy and harm Guaido."
Fox's John Decker at the White House. Late word that Grammy-winning singer-songwriter James Ingram has died. He had a string of hits, including duets. James Ingram was 66. There are multiple reports that he had brain cancer. This is Fox News.
I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans, America's premier home purchase lender. Today's fluctuating interest rates can leave you with unexpected higher mortgage payments. At Quicken Loans, we've created a new way to protect you from unpredictable interest rates so you can buy a home with certainty. It's called Rate Shield, and here's how it works. With Rate Shield, you can lock your interest rate while you shop for a new home. So if rates go up, you don't have to worry. And here's the best part. If rates go down, you get the lower rate. With Rate Shield, we really have you covered. Here are more reasons why you'll want to work with America's largest mortgage lender. For 9 years in a row now, J.D. Power has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation in customer satisfaction for primary mortgage origination. And for the 5th year in a row, they've also ranked us highest in the nation for mortgage servicing. Rate Shield, another way we can save you money on your mortgage. Call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
Based on Rocket Mortgage data in comparison to public data records. Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year purchase transactions. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender licensed in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030. Additional conditions or exclusions may apply.
Police in Chicago open a hate crimes investigation after an openly gay actor was attacked. Jussie Smollett.
Chicago police say early Tuesday, 2 unknown offenders approached the Empire Star and gained his attention by yelling out racial and homophobic slurs towards him. They attacked Smollett and poured an unknown chemical substance on him. At some point, one of the offenders wrapped a rope around the victim's neck. Then they fled the scene. The actor is in good condition. Both Fox and producers of the show expressed their horror in a statement saying the entire studio, network, and production stand united in the face of any despicable act of violence and hate. Police are currently working to gather evidence.
Fox's Michelle Polino. They're seeking witnesses as well as any possible video evidence. British lawmakers still trying to chart a course out of the European Union.
In the latest in a series of Brexit votes, lawmakers here telling Prime Minister Theresa May to go back to Brussels and secure changes to the Brexit divorce plan she agreed last year.
My colleagues and I will talk to the EU about how we address the House's views.
May has struggled to get her plan past Parliament, with many lawmakers complaining about how it would impact the Irish border. But the EU says it won't deal. President Donald Tusk's spokesperson saying the agreement is not open for renegotiation. In London, Simon Owen, Fox News.
Apple beats the street, just out with quarterly earnings a bit better than some analysts expected after the recent warning from CEO Tim Cook that the company's own revenue projections would not be met with slower demand for iPhones, especially in China. Revenue did fall 5% from the previous year to $84 billion. Apple shares up over 2% in after-hours trading. Overall on Wall Street, a mixed day. The S&P and the NASDAQ were lower, but the Dow gained about 52 points. I'm Lisa Brady. This is Fox News.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
Good afternoon. I'm Alex Benzagal with the KVFD Afternoon News. Many federal workers and others are highly concerned we'll face another government shutdown when the current extension expires on February 15th. Iowa Senator Chuck Grassley, a Republican, says he's hopeful we've learned a lesson and that House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, a Democrat, can reach a compromise with President Trump to solve the standoff.
Well, I would hope that Pelosi now would negotiate and not just say no as she has in the past. I think the president's shown more flexibility than I thought he would show.
A possible fix has emerged, what's being called an automatic continuing resolution, which Grassley's sectors who were furloughed or forced to work without pay were able to return to work yesterday. The 31st partial federal government shutdown began on December 20. Charges. His trial starting date has not been set. Michelle Martinko was killed. Her body was found Wednesday with wind chills of 40 to 50 below zero. Lori Morrison with Floyd Valley Healthcare in Lamar says frostbite can happen very quickly when it is exposed to this kind of cold.
You know, it can just be a matter of minutes, particularly if you're using the right kind of precautions and bundling up appropriately for it. It does not take long at all.
The first symptoms of frostbite involve a prickly feeling followed by numbness.
And then from there, you're going to start seeing redness. It's your body trying to react and get circulation going. From there, it almost turns into that white color. And when it starts looking kind of that pale white, you know you're starting to get into some danger zones.
Forecasters predict this will be Iowa's coldest snap in more than 20 years. In addition to protecting yourself from this extreme cold, Morrison says pets should remain indoors. This has been Alex Benzagal with the KVFD Afternoon News. Have a great day.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. A wind chill warning continues until noon Thursday. Overcast this afternoon with a chance of flurries. High of 1 below. Northwesterly winds 10 to 20 miles per hour. Clear skies tonight. Lows level off around 24 below. Sunny skies again tomorrow. High of 12 below. A dusting of snow Thursday. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Right now, 2 below.
Have the talk of a lifetime with the ones you love and make the difference of a lifetime.
Grandma.
Now, sharing stories and memories with those who matter most isn't just important today, it will be especially significant when it's time to honor a life lived. Contact Gunderson Funeral Home to learn more about having the talk of a lifetime.
I can tell you I was using Babbel's 10 to 15-minute lessons. You can be speaking confidently in your new language within weeks.
I was amazed that I could start having real-life conversations right away. It was so fast. Now I'm speaking Spanish. Woohoo!
No wonder Babbel is the #1 selling language learning app in Europe. Try it for yourself and see why Babbel is the quick way to get conversation.
If you don't listen to him, you sneaky, but he's right. Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
That's right. That's where you are. AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, and I guess we can get this on the table. It's pretty cold and will remain cold, but not for David Furick. He's a man above me. He's just this cold is just for, it's nothing. You came over here in your t-shirt, didn't you?
Yeah, and shorts. You can't see it on the YouTube, but I'm in shorts.
That's right.
And sandals.
By the way, it's so cold that my YouTube channel right now is unstable. It's telling me over here. It's so cold. Even YouTube is cold, for God's sake. Yeah, we're supposed to have a wind chill factor temperature of 50 degrees below zero.
That's
off and on for the next 36 hours. Very cold.
That's tough.
Guys, well, I have hair compared to you, but I'm sure that you wear a cap in this sort of weather. Don't you?
Yeah.
I mean, oh, man, I'll tell you, that was one thing I noticed when I got bald, pretty much. You really had to wear a cap.
Yeah. I never really wore a cap. Until I lost the hair on top. And then I was like, wow, it gets cold. And it cools your whole body off pretty quick.
It does. Too. Well, yeah, the top of your head and the bottoms of your feet are supposedly channels of heat. And that's where heat will escape the top of your head if you're not careful. But anyway, David Furick's the city manager here in Fort Dodge. If you have a question or comment for city manager Furick, it's 515-955-1400. You must your head must be really big today, according to the city council people last night, and the mayor, that you and your staff have kept the property taxes at the same rate for 4 years, and that you're just geniuses here.
Yeah, we're keeping it at $20.42, which is the same.
$20.42, and that means
$20.42 per thousand.
Yeah,
an attitude in a manner in which we budget for things and account and actually manage the expenditures. From a really just a great perspective, and it's allowed us to build up reserves, and that helps us deal with good times and bad, and it's created a very very sound financial position for the city.
Now, the biggest single portion of the tax levy is $810 per thousand.
That's the 810 general fund, yeah.
The 810 general fund. Mm-hmm. And where does that money come from?
Well, if that's tax money. So of that $20.42, $8.10 is a portion of that. And that primarily goes to pay for general fund activities, which is overwhelmingly police and fire protection.
Right.
A very smaller portion goes to Parks and Rec, and then general administrative, and then some other things get a portion of the tax levy. Library, airport gets a small portion. The museum, and then just again basic administrative. But largest chunk is police and fire.
Okay, so that is property taxes.
That's property taxes.
And where does the rest of the money come from?
Oh, for the general fund, the general fund's more this year because we've added a big new service, and that's ambulance. So we're at for the.
But that should be a revenue producer.
It is. So our expenditures are up to 13,000,003, almost 13.4, and our revenues are 13.4, a little bit higher than that. So we're about equal in budgeting, about equal balance between revenues and expenditures. But that's about a $1.4 million increase because of ambulance on both sides of the ledger. Now we're budgeting conservatively. We're hoping in the revenues
in the ambulance comes in higher, which I guess is kind of sick to hope that it's higher, because that means we're taking people to the hospital, and that's not a good thing. Or transporting them. I mean, it's a service we provide.
Well, it's something we have to do. We have to
do, but I mean, it is a factor of something that's not so good, and that somebody needs emergency services. But
well, we don't want to have police and fire, but we have to have them.
We have to do that. I don't know. Did I get to the whole question there?
No, not really.
What did I miss?
Where does the rest of the money come from for it?
For the 20.
Right.
Okay, that's a good question. So, the next biggest, there's two big chunks to that. One is debt service. About, I'm rounding here, so give me a break. About $4.50, $4.60 go to pay off debt.
Okay.
Different projects we do, different bond projects we do.
Does this money come from tax money then? Is this all tax money?
Yeah, this is tax money brought in. So that $4.50 per thousand is going to pay off the different projects we've done over the years with debt, and we continue to do. There's, what is the number? $5.50 that plays for employee benefits. Now that's your police and fire pensions.
Right.
That's your IPERS, which is the other employees' pensions. That's health insurance. That's
do city employees get IPERS? Do you get IPERS?
I do not get IPERS, but I'm the one city employee that doesn't get IPERS or
NEMRS
police or fire pension. They're all under IPERS. I'm not.
Okay.
And then so it's health insurance and workers' comp. And then there's all those sort of things that go in the expenses of having employees go into that. And the nice thing about that is we've been able to keep that relatively stable over the years. Our health insurance for the last 4 years has also been flat as far as our what we've expended, and that's pretty awesome when you think of other comparable organizations where they see 10-12% increases in health insurance. We've been basically flat, and I want to give the credit to the fact that we put in place a high deductible health savings account years ago, and employees are taking advantage of it. They see the economic benefit of being in that. They become better consumers with their health insurance expenditures, and it's worked out awesome for us.
Now, I went to Exit Issues on Saturday. Were you out there on Saturday?
No.
Okay. Well, the topic of backfill came up briefly.
Yeah.
And every time, the obvious answer to the backfill situation would be to raise taxes, as far as I'm concerned. But if you mention that around Mike Sexton, he starts barking like a dog. So I don't think we're going to have any tax a raise in taxes to straighten out our backfill situation. Now by that I mean the governor, then Governor Branstad, reduced commercial property taxes dramatically while he was still in office. He did promise 10 years of backfill to allow the cities and counties to get used to the whole lower taxes.
I don't remember him putting a date on there, 10 years.
I think he did, but I said on the air at the time, 10 years, yeah, right. Well, in about 2 years, they started talking about getting rid of it. Now, it came up Saturday at Exit Issues. And we're trying to work with backfill a little bit. It seemed to be the response. I know Senator Cranbrink and Mayor Bemrick have been talking about it, and there's been some meetings at the city and county level that our legislators have sat in on. Do you see any backfill help coming yet this year, or?
Well, so we're planning on the backfill.
You're planning
on
how much money from the backfill are you planning?
$600,000 approximately.
You're planning on that much, okay.
Yeah, that's what we've gotten over, as the taxes phase down and the backfill phased in permanently. That's about, and I'm rounding, but roughly 600,000 comes into the city
right
for backfill. Now, I want to make something perfectly clear. If we lose the backfill, taxes go up. Right. Property taxes go up. That's a fallacy to say that property taxes won't go up if there's not a backfill. Now, having said that, it is ultimately the city council's decision to approve the tax levy. But, of that 2042, a lot of that, there's backfill money that goes in to cover that. So if that's gone, Jeff Nemmers has estimated that it's at least 71 cents increase if we lose the backfill.
A 71 cent increase. If we lose it.
Now,
well, that's, there, and that was, I remember Governor Branstad, this was his plan. to lower commercial property taxes. It's the old Republican idea. If we do that, well, we're going to have just an unchained economy and prosperity will come from heaven. And I never bought it, but and I haven't seen it happen yet. But he then told the cities and counties, if you want your current level of services, that's fine. You have to tax for it. So
And that's
the plan would be then to use property taxes to pay for any services that might be lost. When we lose the backfill,
it's not that simple because
right.
of that 2042, that's our total levy.
Yeah.
A little bit more than half of that, we can levy whatever we need. So if our value goes down or the amount we receive from the backfill goes away, we can make that up through property taxes. And to deliver the same services, the same budget and expenditures we want or we need for next year, if we didn't have the backfill, would add 71 cents to that. Now, having said that, the general fund, the 810 that was mentioned in the article, that can't go up. That's set by state statute
by the state
to go up. So about 300,000 of the backfill goes to general fund. If that disappears, there's no way to make it up. In the first year, it would be no way to make it up.
That 300,000 just for that 300,000 savings.
Well,
I see there was a big.
If we lay off Allstat, I think it's only 4,800 a year, so that won't cover it. So no, all kidding aside, you wouldn't do that. But it could result in significant economic and significant service impacts if you were to lose that money from the general fund. Now, if it goes away and we try to maintain services, I could see in future years that the tax levy would go up even more as you're trying to make up for the money that you don't have from the general fund anymore to cover things. But it would be pretty financially disastrous if the state legislature just totally cut it out, the backfill.
Well, that's not what I heard at Eggs and Issues, but I think the way they've talked, our legislators, the way they've talked, and I just don't mean Sexton and Cranbring, but the way the state legislators around the state have been talking, they'd like to get this done in the next couple of years. They'd like to eliminate the backfill altogether.
Yeah. Well, and
so what would happen if it up $300,000? Yeah, but not Allstat. Who is it?
Well, I don't know. I mean, those are things that we'd have to work out as it happens. And
I suppose we'd have to cut staff, wouldn't we? Or
you would have to see. I wouldn't sit here and say you could do this, do that. I mean, other cities, when this has come up before, I said, okay, here's the operations we're going to close. We never got to that level last year. We will probably react based on what proposals are put forth and explain to people what this is going to do to the city, but not having a specific proposal right now. I mean, right now, the only proposal is the backfill is in the governor's budget. So that's the only thing out there. So we're going on that and we're budgeting for it. So that's where it's at. Now, there is some merit in having discussions, say, hey, state, if you get rid of the backfill, if you do something that basically relieves the cities from that 810 limit, then the cities can decide what level of taxation they want.
That would be an obvious.
It's really a screwy process because to tell cities that, okay, you can only levy at $8.10 per thousand, but okay, we're going to take a big chunk of your revenue away that we promised you, that we took away from you when we reduced the property value scenario. I mean, and I'm not against necessarily trying to balance out commercial property taxes to residential, because if you overtax your commercials, you're just going to lose the commercial. So you need to keep that. You need to keep that in line. I think that's what the governor and the legislature was going for at the time. But to put all that burden on the cities and local school districts without freeing up any other means to collect revenue is an undue hardship. If they were to eliminate the 810 or modify it so that we could tax more to collect that lost revenue, then I think everybody could win in the deal. And I don't understand why you'd put an 810 limit on anything anyways. What, isn't it for the locals to figure out, the local leaders to figure out what their tax rate should be?
It does seem like the state is saying, well, we're going to take away this money and we're going to prevent you. So you can decide what kind of services you want. Then we're not going to allow you to decide what services
So
you want.
why is a state smarter than the locals on what
They're
services?
not. They're not. This is Republican Party ideology driving this whole thing. Low taxes, smaller government, smaller government. Yeah, you see, what they're saying is we're going to lower commercial property taxes so the cities can then decide what level of service they want to have and what kind of taxes they want to have. Then they're going to prevent the cities from setting their only tax rate. That's Republican thinking down at the State House right now.
Kind of like fiscal strangulation.
Fiscal strangulation. That's right. We don't really need taxes,
We'll let you set your own rate, except we
That's
won't.
right. That's right. Well, we got libertarians out there who believe taxation is theft. So there we go. I was curious that we have a retail coach.
Yes.
And don't we have a Growth Alliance? Chris Patrick is over at Main Street.
Chris Patrick runs the Main Street program. That is correct.
Yes, she does. And the Growth Alliance is run by Denny Ploutz. We know that. With those two entities, why do we need a retail coach?
Well, nobody in town is a retail expert.
We have nobody in town
we are
that's
not,
a retail.
As far as recruiting retail, we're not retail experts. We did this years and years ago. We hired a company out of Chicago called I think it was SB Friedman. Gosh, it could have been 8-10 years ago.
Yeah.
And we did it at the time because we went through the Envision 2030 and we did some other studies, and we realized, hey, retail is important. It's an important quality of life. If we have good retail, it'll help even be that thing that will attract workers to town and keep people here, because we got to the point where people look at, hey, what's your shops in town, to look at is the town thriving. So we realized that was something important to do, but we really didn't know what to do because we're not experts in retail marketing and attraction. So we hired this firm to kind of give us some direction to say, hey, what should we go out and look for in our town? And they looked at it and said, okay, here's your demographics, here's your retail draw, here's what's spent here. Here's the kind of businesses that would come to your town. So what was on that list? Kohl's, CVS Pharmacy.
Right.
Trying to think of the other ones. Marshalls. So we were able to take that information, not that we use it to attract the Marshalls, but but we use it to attract the Kohl's, and it worked at that point to say, hey, here's what is going to come to your marketplace. Now, that was 10 years ago. The retail industry has changed drastically. So what this will help do is he will likewise do the same thing that we did 10 years ago and say, okay, what is your demographics? What are they spending their money on? What and then what do they want, and then try to link that with potential retailers that could come to this market and give them that information. Say, hey, we've done this work. Take a look at Fort Dodge. That's one side of it. The other side of it is take that same information about dollars that are being spent by people that live in our retail trade area but are not being spent in the retail trade area, and take that information, give it to our current retailers, and say, hey, here you might want to look at some stuff that of dollars that are leaking this community, that maybe there's some services that you could provide or other product lines that could be in the community. So it's just trying to gain a lot of information that we haven't done. We don't have the capacity to do or the time to do, to gather all that data and to try to make sense of what could and should happen in our retail market and help us deal with this ever-changing market. And likewise, in addition, what the coach does is helps us make those connections, those literally face-to-face connections with the people that are going to make the decision for the retailers about where they're going to locate, where they're going to expand, all that stuff.
If we don't have a retail specialist in town, Chris Patrick is great. I really like her.
Yeah, she's a downtown specialist. I mean, she does downtown stuff in the Main Street and does a great job, but isn't the type of person that knows the national retail market. She may know it. I mean, she may know it okay, but this is an expert in the national retail market, the retail trends that are going on nationwide, not just in Main Street. Well, what? Dennis and Kelly Kelly's an industrial recruiter.
All right.
And Dennis is he's the director, but we've
now,
done,
don't diss Ploutz now.
No,
let me see, what does Ploutz do? Nobody knows.
But I'm just saying his job is not industrial, but that's what his career has been, primarily industrial, because it's not.
He's in the planning department. He was head of the planning department here in Fort Dodge.
But I mean, as far as his economic development effort, it pretty much has been industrial recruitment.
Okay.
So I mean, that's why we did it all those years ago, is because we were getting involved in retail and we realized that's not our specialty.
Right.
It's not easy. I know people might think, hey, it's easy. Hey, let's go get a Long John Silver's. Let's go get a Red Lobster, or let's go get
Long John Silver's is just about done, aren't they?
I don't know. Throw anything out there. Everyone's got ideas. Hey, I like that store. We should have one here, but you really got to know your demographics. You really got to know your spending trends in your community before you go spend the time to talk and recruit businesses like that.
It's a little surprised to see that 85,000 people shop in Fort Dodge.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's actually, I think he's being a little conservative. We've had other estimates that it's
Where
like
are they shopping?
120, 150. Well, no, it's where what he's done is kind of done a quick little analysis of the demographics of our surrounding area and estimated where to come to Fort Dodge. Fort Dodge has a pretty significant retail trade area because, we're the biggest city around.
We need more places. We need a couple of ethnic restaurants other than Mexican restaurants. There's one at the mall I really like, and the other one is really terrific too. And we have that. What is that place across from the mall where the Maid-Rite used to be, or it was also a Mexican food place?
Isn't that Lamitas?
No, I'm not. No, I'm not talking
Where
Mexican
Lamitas
restaurants.
where
Now.
was?
It's a relatively new restaurant across from the mall. It was a Maid-Rite years ago. It was raised Maid-Rite years ago, and then it was a Mexican restaurant for years and years and years. And now it's a
steakhouse.
Yeah, it's a steakhouse.
Yeah.
What's the name of it? You don't know, huh? I don't know either. Here we are. Anybody know what the name of that steakhouse is out by the mall? We have old people in the room who can't remember anything.
What's the name?
515-955-OLD.
So what kind of other ethnic restaurants do you think we should try to get?
Italian would be great. Wouldn't that be great? to have an Italian-
Casablanca.
Casablanca is the name of it. Oh, here we go. I asked, I shall receive. Good afternoon. You're on the air at AM 1400.
Are you thinking of Napoli's?
Is it no?
No, it was the Italian restaurant called Napoli. Now
That
it's called
was the-
Casablanca.
That was where Maid-Rite used to be.
Yeah.
And then, it was Maid-Rite, and then it was Lamitas, then it was Napoli's, and then I think the Lamitas people owned the joint, and they jacked the rent up because I think taxes went up, so they jacked the rent up. When Napoli told them to go to hell, and they moved to Algona.
Napoleon's moved to Algona, really?
Yeah, they're right next to a pizza ranch.
It's Casablanca. That kind of
Between
taste.
Pizza Ranch and McDonald's.
Well, that's embarrassing to lose Napoleon's to Algona, for God's sake. All right. Hey, thanks a lot.
Yeah, thanks.
All right. Just AM 1400 KVFD. Yeah, Napoleon's is kind of a chain, isn't it? They have a couple of them in Cedar Rapids.
Is it a chain?
Or maybe
I
I'm
didn't
thinking
know
of
it was a
something
chain.
else. Maybe I'm thinking of something else. I know I went with my son and daughter-in-law and grandkids to, and I know where one is, and I pass it all the time down there. It's some Italian restaurant, but I ate at a German restaurant once. It was terrific.
German restaurants are good.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't see them many places unless you have, in small towns you'll see it where you have some probably a German family that wants to have a restaurant.
There's older folks will remember down in Omaha. They're used to right on south, right off Douglas on 32nd Street. I think it's called the Bohemian Restaurant.
Oh,
it was a Bohemian cafe. You went in there and people were dressed in 19th century. The waitresses were 19th century costumes and checkered tablecloths and a lot of farmers used to take their livestock down to Omaha back in those days.
Yeah, so if I
but
wanna
it
go
was,
in.
it was a great restaurant. So man, it really was. It had a lot of great German and Bohemian dishes. I don't know what the difference is between those two ethnic groups necessarily.
I wouldn't know
Probably
either.
very little or none. Did you know where all Caucasians are German? If you go back far enough in the history of Western civilization, all Caucasians came from the same place in Western Europe, and that place is Germany. And we kind of spread out a little bit, but we're all under the skin Germans, I guess. Just a little trivia there. All right, David Ferrick has been our guest. Thank you, David.
You're welcome.
All right, this is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Listen to this.
Making radio great again.
Can I ask you something, but without you taking it the wrong way?
Sure.
Are you stupid?
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Listen to this.
Making radio great again.
Well, there you go, David Ferrick. I just got a text. We need a Panera. We need a Panera. There. My listeners are so smart. 434, thanks to David Ferrick. This is AM 1400 KVFD.
This is John Green, and if your teeth are stained from coffee, tea, or smoking, Power Swabs is the answer. In 5 minutes, you'll see 2 shades whiter teeth, and in 7 days, 6 shades. Even better, there's no messy strips or trays that you'll have to leave in your mouth for an hour. Just swab your teeth for 5 minutes, and you're done. To try Power Swabs, call 1-800-679-0969. Your bright white smile will have your friends talking about how great you look. Try it risk-free. 1-800-679-0969. That's 1-800-679-0969.
Good Samaritan Society Manson is looking
looking for a registered nurse to be a part of their leadership team and serve as MDS and rehab coordinator. RNs applying for this 30-hour-a-week position must be in good standing with the state of Iowa. If you want to enjoy the benefits of working in a Bronze Award 5-star Christian care facility, apply online for the MDS position at good-sam.com. That's good-sam.com. Good Samaritan Society is an equal opportunity employer.
Party with a Purpose during the 22nd annual Sweetheart Gala. Imagine a world without heart disease or stroke. That's the driving mission of the American Heart Association. I'm Abigail Johnson, inviting you to join us at the Best Western Starlight Village. Social hour begins at 6. There'll be a silent and live auction, a DJ, and delicious dessert buffet and meal. Tickets are just $50 each. Come dance at the 22nd annual Sweetheart Gala, Saturday night, March 2nd at the Best Western Starlight Village in Fort Dodge.
It's time to join the millions of people using Zoom video conferencing. Turn any size conference room, huddle room, or executive office into a Zoom room with flawless HD video, crystal clear audio, and instant wireless sharing. It'll even work with your existing hardware. Start your meetings with a single touch or use Zoom's new voice command feature. Hey Zoom, start meeting. Huddle happy. Visit zoom.us to set up your free Zoom room trial today. That's zoom.us. Zoom video conferencing.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
Good afternoon. I'm Alex Benzagal with the KVFD Afternoon News. Many federal workers and others are highly concerned we'll face another government shutdown when the current extension expires on February 15th. Iowa Senator Chuck Grassley, a Republican, says he's hopeful we've learned a lesson and that House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, a Democrat, can reach a compromise with President Trump to solve the standoff.
Well, I would hope that Pelosi now would negotiate and not just say no as she has in the past. I think the president's shown more flexibility than I thought he would show.
A possible fix has emerged, what's being called an automatic continuing resolution, which Grassley says could end government shutdowns forever.
Pretty simple. You get up to September 30th, all the appropriation bills aren't passed. You don't shut down the government. You just continue to spend money at the level you did the last fiscal year until the appropriation bills get passed.
Most of the 800,000 federal workers who were furloughed or forced to work without pay were able to return to work yesterday. The 35-day partial federal government shutdown began on December 22nd and was the longest in U.S. history. A man has pleaded not guilty to killing an Iowa high school student in 1979. Records say 65-year-old Jerry Burns filed a written plea Friday in Lynn County District Court. The charge is first-degree murder. His trial starting date has not been set. He remains in custody pending $5 million bail. Police arrested the Manchester business owner on December 19th, 39 years to the day after 18-year-old Michelle Martinko was killed. Her body was found the next day inside her family's car at Cedar Rapids Mall. She had been stabbed in the face and chest. Police say investigators matched a blood sample from the crime scene with a sample taken from Burns. The National Weather Service has been warning Iowans of life-threatening wind chills blowing across the state this week. The worst conditions are expected late tonight into Wednesday with wind chills of 40 to 50 below zero. Lori Morrison with Floyd Valley Healthcare in Lamar says frostbite can happen very quickly when skin is exposed to this kind of cold.
You know, it can just be a matter of minutes, particularly if you're not using the right kind of precautions and bundling up appropriately for it. It does not take long at all.
The first symptoms of frostbite involve a prickly feeling followed by numbness.
And then from there, you're going to start seeing redness. It's your body trying to react and get circulation going. From there, it almost turns into that white color. And when it starts looking kind of that pale white, you know you're starting to get into some danger zones.
Forecasters predict this will be Iowa's coldest snap in more than 20 years. In addition to protecting yourself from this extreme cold, Morrison says pets should remain indoors. This has been Alex Benzagal with the KVFD Afternoon News. Have a great day.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. A wind chill warning continues until noon Thursday. Overcast this afternoon with a chance of flurries. High of 1 below. Northwesterly winds 10 to 20 miles per hour. Clear skies tonight. Lows level off around 24 below. Dusting of snow Thursday. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Right now 6 below.
Here's a look at how the markets closed today. March corn down 2.5 at 377 1/4. May down 2 1/4 at 386. July corn down 2.5 at 393 3/4. September down 2 1/4 at 396 1/4. March soybeans closed down 4 1/4 at 919. May down 4 1/4 at 932 3/4. July down 4.5 cents at 945 1/4. August down 4 1/4 at 950 1/4. March wheat closed down 5.5 at 513 1/4. Soybean meal down 40 cents a ton at 311.80. February live cattle up 7 cents at 126.47. April up 42 at 127.80. January feeder cattle down 82 cents at 142.65. March down a dime at 144 1/4. February lean hogs closed down 65 cents at 57.32. April up 22 at 62.55. From the farm desk, I'm Dwayne Murley.
There are different types of tillage, plus reduced or no-till systems. But a University of Wisconsin researcher says, along with soil health, farmers must remember that whatever they do, it has to fit the bottom line. Hello, I'm Larry Lee with Managing for Profit on Brownfield. Professor Francisco Arriaga has some advice for farmers next on Managing for Profit.
Why was the basketball court all wet? Because the players kept dribbling on it.
The dad joke. Corny, groan-worthy, but also one of the simplest ways to share a moment with your kids.
What did the buffalo say when he dropped his son off at school? Bye, son.
So take a moment to make your kid laugh, because dad jokes rule. Make your kid laugh today. Go to fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
3, 2, 1. Oh no. Which button am I?
When every second counts, you can't wing it.
Guys, a little help up here?
In a home fire, you may have less than 2 minutes to get out. So make a family home fire escape plan. Then practice home fire drills at least twice a year so everyone knows what to do when they hear. Prepare your family at ready.gov/fire drill. Brought to you by FEMA, the Ad Council, and Make Safe Happen.
Francisco Arriaga is an applied soil physics professor at the University of Wisconsin, and he tells Brownfield that conventional tillage, strip tillage, chisel plowing, and no-till all have their own unique costs.
I think a lot of times we get caught up on the maximum agronomic yields, but one thing we need to keep in mind, it's, what's our risk as far as how much money we put into an operation and, how much money we're getting out of it, as far as yield. And so using reduced tillage practices long-term has shown us that it will reduce the cost, obviously, but also long-term we see that the yield potential stabilizes. So you have a system that is more predictable, if you will. And so I think it helps you make plans ahead of time a little bit better, especially for your finances.
What kind of yield differences are there between the different tillage systems? Is there really much difference?
So if you're starting from a system where you're doing tillage and going to a reduced tillage or no-till system, those first, 3, 4 or 5 years, you see some differences there. A lot of it depends on the weather, but later on, after a few years, there's little to no differences. Looking at long-term research done in the Midwest, for example, one that it was done for 28 years, out of that, only about 30% or less of those years, tillage didn't matter, make a difference. So there's other factors that might be more important, like crop rotations or use of cover crops actually will help improve your productivity.
Any advice for the farmers if they're looking at changing from, say, a traditional tillage to something else? What route might work for them based on where they are, their soil type?
Maybe start with something like a rotational tillage. If you have a field, don't till it every year. So maybe you do tillage there every other year and kind of match up with your rotation and take it in steps. Don't go full blast to no-till, because that, a lot of times could lead to failure and people turn off a lot of times because of that. That's an area. So start with a small field, maybe the back 40, and take it one step at a time.
You also made a brief mention of how to control some of those weed seed banks just based on the tillage.
So what's interesting is that there's been a lot of work shows that under no-till scenario, you see a lower weed seed bank because the weed seeds tend to be towards the surface. So they're more prone or more available for predation by insects, fungi to decompose by, being decomposed by fungi, those type of things. So a lot of times we see a reduction in the weed seed bank with no-till.
Arriaga says when considering which tillage or reduced tillage method to use, farmers must remember to consider the difference in input costs, including fuel, fertilizer, and chemicals. Arriaga was a presenter recently at the Wisconsin Agribusiness Classic in Madison, Wisconsin. I'm Larry Lee with Managing for Profit on Brownfield.
From the Fox Business Network. Well, shoppers are shaken by stocks and the shutdown. Consumer confidence taking a tumble in January. The Conference Board, which did the study, says Americans were likely feeling uneasy because of stock market volatility and the partial government shutdown. Now, speaking of stocks, they did not do a whole lot on Tuesday to make people more confident. While the Dow eked out a small gain, the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ dropped. Keep an eye on shares of Apple on Wednesday, the company reporting better than expected earnings and revenue late Tuesday. Revenue, though, for iPhones came in a little under estimates. The wildfires that caused death and destruction in Northern California late last year, also causing severe financial damage to the nation's largest utility company, Pacific Gas and Electric, known as PG&E, filed for bankruptcy on Tuesday as it faces billions of dollars in claims and lawsuits related to the fires. With the Fox Business Report, I'm Connell McShane.
I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans, America's premier home purchase lender. We've created a new way to protect you from unpredictable interest rates. Our exclusive Rate Shield approval. First, we lock your interest rate for up to 90 days. Then, if rates go up, your rate stays locked. But if rates go down, your rate drops. Either way, you win. Call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year fixed-rate loans. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030. Additional conditions or exclusions may apply.
I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans, America's premier home purchase lender. We've created a new way to protect you from unpredictable interest rates. Our exclusive Rate Shield approval. First, we lock your interest rate for up to 90 days. Then, if rates go up, your rate stays locked. But if rates go down, your rate drops. Either way, you win. Call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year fixed-rate loans. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030. Additional conditions or exclusions may apply.
Party with a Purpose, Saturday, March 2nd, during the 22nd Annual Sweetheart Gala. Imagine a world without heart disease or stroke. That's the driving mission of the American Heart Association. I'm Abigail Johnson, inviting you to join us at the Best Western Starlight Village. Social hour begins at 6. There'll be a silent and live auction, a DJ, and delicious dessert buffet and meal. Tickets are just $50 each. Come dance the night away at the 22nd Annual Sweetheart Gala, Saturday night, March 2nd at the Best Western Starlight Village in Fort Dodge.
Michael Devine at AM 1400.
In the name of justice and the American way of life.
With 60 rounds of freedom.
I don't understand what is preventing you from laughing this off and giving me a big hug.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD. Listen to this. Making radio great again.
That is the goal here, to make radio great again. AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. Really, ladies and gentlemen, I don't brag that often. I do brag on occasion, but I'm going to brag here just for a minute, because before I got to this radio station, not many people even knew it was still on the air. KVFD, when we were younger, was the radio station in town. It was the cool radio station. But that was mainly members of my parents' generation. I'm 67 years old, or I will be here in the next week or 2 weeks or something like that. I mean, my parents' generation loved this radio station. Of course, the great Ed Breen was an owner of this radio station and KQ Television. And, boy, that was a great thing. KQ TV was a great thing to have in our town. Who can forget that television station? Eve's Kitchen and all those great programs, Uncle Dick, on and on and on and on. And Max Landis, of course, stayed on the radio side. And this was a great radio station for its time. I mean, I remember working with Max Landis years ago in the 1980s, and we still had recipes, women with recipes on the air. And we had a cooking show out to Iowa Central. I don't know how many people remember that. We had a big cooking show every November in the Iowa Central Auditorium. And it was a lot of fun, and it was pretty well attended. But you could just see the change of the culture as time went by. The cooking show was very well attended for quite some time. And then over time, it just, it kind of didn't happen. Women were working, more and more women were working. Going to cooking shows was not something that they were going to do, even if they like cooking. I like cooking, by the way. I've been a single man a long time. I've lived by myself a long time, and I didn't know how to cook at all. Now I do know how to cook a little bit. I like cooking. I wish I had more time to cook. I think that's something I'm going to take up in my retirement years is expanding my cooking knowledge or ability. I look forward to it. I really do. I have a friend, a female friend, not a girlfriend or anything like that. But man, can she cook. And she was a professional woman. And she loved to cook. That was her hobby. And, oh, God, she's such a good cook. I mean, she can take a little pork and put a little sauce and a little butter here or there. And it's just the greatest thing in the world. It's just terrific. And I look forward to having her teach me. Having her teach me a few things. I bought a Betty Crocker cookbook 20 years ago. I've used it and learned some things. And, of course, one of the great inventions for single people everywhere was the crock pot. I have a couple of pieces of beef sitting in a little barbecue sauce at home right now, and it will taste good here in about an hour or a little more than that, I suppose, when I get home and out of the cold. And man, is it cold. My God. David Ferrick and I were talking a little bit earlier about what sort of eating places we would like in town. And of course, it's too bad we don't have a Sandstone anymore or some privately owned restaurant. But, we have a few privately owned places here in town. J. Mars, of course, is privately owned. T.C. Mays over here, privately owned. And they have their own unique taste. Of course, Hardy's Caddy Shack over here, a great downtown restaurant as well. And, of course, Old Boston is locally owned. When we recruit, I guess it's going to be national change, and I regret that. I had a listener text me when Ferrick and I were on the air talking about what sort of restaurant we needed next, and one of my listeners said a Panera Bread, and I think that would be a great idea. AM 1400 KVFD, good afternoon. You're on the air.
Don't forget tea time.
Tea time. Thank you. That's a great restaurant out there. Lucina. I haven't seen her for a while. Yeah, Leroy and
very good place.
Yeah, it is. It's a great place. And was her name Deb? I think she runs the place. Yeah, and her husband is one of the twins. She told me several times when she was coming in on Tasty Tuesday when I was still working.
Yeah, to Leroy's.
Yeah. But that's a great place. Man, Tasty Tuesday, I miss out on it now because I'm on the afternoon show, but we usually had a restaurant, and I believe we still do have restaurants coming in, different ones every Tuesday, and she used to be part of that say it for me again, please.
The tea time.
Tea time. God. Tea time. I had TC Mays in my head, and I couldn't get it out. But yeah, she used to come in, and she had great food. She had just great food every single time. Anyway, thanks for the reminder.
You bet.
All right, AM 1400 KVFD voice. We're done. A senior moment on the air happens more and more and more. Tom Thumb got another text here. I'm glad my listeners are keeping me straight. Yeah, that was owned by Erdl for a long time and was a great restaurateur in town. And and I hope. I do miss the Sandstone, and I still miss the Lamplighter. I guess I should have gone to the Lamplighter longer. It would still be here. Of course, Jimmy's Black Knight was a great place back in the day, and we had a lot of great restaurants. Fort Dodge was known for some unique restaurants. AM 1400 KVFD, good afternoon. You're on the air.
How about the Royal 400?
Mm-hmm. You're going back a few years there.
A few years, about how long? I can't remember.
I can't remember either, but it was before my time in Fort Dodge, and I've been here quite a while.
Okay, but I heard a lot of stories about it, and I guess it was an old filling station of some sort, but they had the back area as a restaurant, and the boys that I know say it was very, very good.
That's what I've heard. It was there on 3rd Street, I believe. You can't even tell it was there now. But yeah, the Royal 400 was another very famous place here, as was Treelor's. Treelor's back in the day. Treelor's, I did get the opportunity to eat at a couple of times way back when.
Well, I used to travel up this way years ago, and Treelor's was one of the places that all the fieldmen for the companies coming out of Des Moines went to have supper, and that's usually where they were. So I remember that one, but I can't bring the 400 up. So
all right. Hey, thank you very much.
Okay.
All right. AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. The Royal 400, I believe, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, was on North 3rd Street right over in there. But again, that was before my time. That was before my time in Fort Dodge. So if I got here in the late 70s, and I actually lived here for a short time in 1975, and I don't remember the Royal 400 being open even then. So I'm thinking it closed probably back in the 60s, if not before that. If anybody knows, 515-955-1400. But we used to have the best prime rib in this part of the state, maybe the entire state, when we had the Sandstone. Sandstone was known far and wide for its prime rib. And I wish we had those sorts of restaurants again. It's a whole different world. It's a much more competitive environment. Really, younger people, and I'm talking 40 and under, they grew up a totally different way. We had a dinner at my son and his wife's. Of course, they were busy. There was a birthday party and the whole thing. But we had a dinner that consisted of Popeye's chicken takeout. And, there was family there and a lot going on. And it might have been, it was going to be a real chore, I know, to cook inside. But if, to my mind, I guess you go out someplace where you can sit down and have people take your order or something. But, that's an older person thinking of a different time. The black, what was it? Anvers and Tony's. That's right. Anvers and Tony's. Anvers, I do remember. Tony's out by the hospital. I never went there. I remember when it was there, but I didn't eat there. And then there was the, it's where the Dodger Tap is now. There was a nice little steak place there for quite a while. You walk in the front door and they had a little grill there. And sometimes they could make your food while you sat around the grill. They had stools and a little eating area right around the grill. And they had a place in the back too. I can't remember what the older Fort Dodgers, again, 515-955-1400, or you can text me if you have my cell phone number. But that was a real decent spot. It went through a couple of different owners, and yeah. I haven't had a chance to get out to Casablanca yet, but I'm looking forward to getting out there. One thing I do like is I just miss places where you can go get a steak. Dress up a little bit and go get a steak. I miss that. And I understand, of course, the culture's changed again quite a bit. I was sitting in church Sunday morning, and there was no man in there that was wearing a tie, and I didn't see any women wearing a dress. Of course, now that was very, very cold weather, even Sunday, so I really wouldn't have expected women to be wearing a dress or anything. But I just thought to myself, this is the way things are now. People go to church and they don't even think about putting on a coat and tie. The men just don't do it. And that's the way it is. Anyway, if you remember any old restaurants here in Fort Dodge, give me a call at 955-1400, because it would be great to have that sort of way of life back with us, at least as much as it can be back with us. The world has changed too much, of course. There used to be a pretty good place under the old Eilers Hotel. I can't remember. There was a bar down there and a little restaurant, and I think it was Dixie's for a while. That was going back a few years, probably early 80s, late 70s in there somewhere. But it was a good place to eat. And we did have, again, great restaurants here in Fort Dodge. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. I want to thank my guests, certainly Steve Pearson with the Webster County Farm Bureau, City Manager David Fierig. It was great that they could be on. I really appreciate it. It's, cold. Wind chill factor temperature below 30 degrees. Overnight, it could be 50 below. Crazy. I want to thank you for listening. You could have done something else, but you came here and listened to me, and I want you to know that I appreciate it. Thank you very much, and I'll do my best do my best to keep you listening starting tomorrow. This is KVFD in Fort Dodge, Iowa. It's 5 o'clock.
Hi, this is Gary Rima, the voice of the University of Northern Iowa Panthers, and this is the home for Panther Sports, the voice of Fort Dodge, KVFD, Fort Dodge.
Back to the bargaining table. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. Lawmakers have just a couple of weeks to come up with a plan for border security before a temporary spending bill passed last week runs out and the government could shut down again. Fox's Jared Halpern has more live on Capitol Hill.
Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell says he wants congressional negotiators to come up with anything that will prevent another government shutdown or the president declaring a national emergency along the southern border.
For whatever works that prevents the level of dysfunction we've seen on full display here the last month.
House and Senate Committee of Negotiators will meet for the first time tomorrow with a February 15th deadline to find a border security measure that can win congressional approval and the president's signature. Lisa.
Jared, thanks. Life-threatening. That's what officials in the Midwest are saying about the extreme cold weather. Wind chills in Chicago could hit 50 below tomorrow morning.
The overnight low is predicted to be around negative 20. The wind chills compound all of that. Of particular risk is the homeless population here in Chicago. We found one of the 10 cities just to the south and west of Chicago's Loop and found that the people there, despite the city leaders out here opening up warming shelters, homeless shelters. They're even moving buses to the areas where the homeless people are. A lot of these people who live in the 10 cities have decided that they're going to tough out the bad weather.
Fox's Mike Tobin in Chicago. Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer has declared a state of emergency. At least 4 deaths have been linked to the extreme cold, including a man who was struck and killed by a snowplow in the Chicago area. On Wall Street, stocks wound up with a mixed finish as an early gain faded. Losses in tech and media companies outweighed solid gains in industrial and healthcare stocks. The Dow gained 51. The Nasdaq fell 57. The S&P dropped 3 points. This is Fox News.
I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans, America's premier home purchase lender. Today's fluctuating interest rates can leave you with unexpected higher mortgage payments. At Quicken Loans, we've created a new way to protect you from unpredictable interest rates so you can buy a home with certainty. It's called Rate Shield, and here's how it works. With Rate Shield, you can lock your interest rate while you shop for a new home. So if rates go up, you don't have to worry. And here's the best part. If rates go down, you get the lower rate. With Rate Shield, we really have you covered. Here are more reasons why you'll want to work with America's largest mortgage lender. For 9 years in a row now, J.D. Power has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation in customer satisfaction for primary mortgage origination. And for the 5th year in a row, they've also ranked us highest in the nation for mortgage servicing. Rate Shield. Another way we can save you money on your mortgage. Call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
Based on Rocket Mortgage data in comparison to public data records. Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year purchase transactions. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender license in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030. Additional conditions or exclusions may apply.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
Good afternoon. I'm Alex Benzagal with the KVFD Afternoon News. Many federal workers and others are highly concerned we'll face another government shutdown when the current extension expires on February 15th. Iowa Senator Chuck Grassley, a Republican, says he's hopeful we've learned a lesson and that House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, a Democrat, can reach a compromise with President Trump to solve the standoff.
Well, I would hope that Pelosi now would negotiate and not just say no as she has in the past. I think the president's shown more flexibility than I thought he would show.
A possible fix has emerged, what's being called an automatic continuing resolution, which Grassley says could end government shutdowns forever.
Pretty simple. You get up to September 30th, all the appropriation bills aren't passed. You don't shut down the government. You just continue to spend money at the level you did the last fiscal year until the appropriation bills get passed.
Most of the 800,000 federal workers who were furloughed or forced to work without pay were able to return to work yesterday. The 35-day partial federal government shutdown began on December 22nd and was the longest in U.S. history. A man has pleaded not guilty to killing an Iowa high school student in 1979. Records say 65-year-old Jerry Burns filed a written plea Friday in Lynn County District Court. The charge is first-degree murder. His trial starting date has not been set. He remains in custody pending $5 million bail. Police arrested the Manchester business owner on December 19th, 39 years to the day after 18-year-old Michelle Martinko was killed. Her body was found the next day inside her family's car at a Cedar Rapids mall. She had been stabbed in the face and chest. Police say investigators matched a blood sample from the crime scene with a sample taken from Burns. The National Weather Service has been warning Iowans of life-threatening wind chills blowing across the state this week. The worst conditions are expected late tonight into Wednesday with wind chills of 40 to 50 below zero. Lori Morrison with Floyd Valley Healthcare in Lamar says frostbite can happen very quickly when skin is exposed to this kind of cold.
You know, it can just be a matter of minutes, particularly if you're not using the right kind of precautions and bundling up appropriately for it. It does not take long at all.
The first symptoms of frostbite involve a prickly feeling followed by numbness.
And then from there, you're going to start seeing redness. It's your body trying to react and get circulation going. From there, it almost turns into that white color. And when it starts looking kind of that pale white, you know you're starting to get into some danger zones.
Forecasters predict this will be Iowa's coldest snap in more than 20 years. In addition to protecting yourself from this extreme cold, Morrison says pets should remain indoors. This has been Alex Benzagal with the KVFD Afternoon News. Have a great day.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast.
A wind chill warning continues until noon Thursday.
Lows around 25 below tonight. Under clear
Live from the headquarters of Ramsey Solutions, it's the Dave Ramsey Show, where debt is dog, cash is king, and the paid-off home mortgage has taken the place of the BMW as the status symbol of choice. I am Dave Ramsey, your host. Thank you for joining us, America. We're so glad you're here. Open phones at 888-825-5225. That's 888-825-5225. Frank starts off this hour in Chicago. Hey, Frank, welcome to the Dave Ramsey Show.
Hi, Dave. How are you? Thanks for taking my call.
Sure. What's up?
So my wife and I are 45 years old. We got 9-year-old twins. We're currently working on baby step 2. I believe we'll be debt-free within a year. We're currently renting our home and just wondering, based on our age and stuff, if we should plan on buying a home again in the future, if that's something that we should, start planning for, or if we should just continue to rent once we're debt free based on our age and situation.
Why wouldn't you buy a home?
Well, I don't know. I just, we're 45 and we're not sure where we want to retire, if we're going to live in Chicago the rest of our lives. We're 15, 20 years out from retirement. If we do buy, we would want to buy probably on a 15-year mortgage with a sizable down payment, of course. So just kind of planning and preparing for that.
Okay. Well, I mean, if you were to look at real estate prices 10 years ago and real estate prices today, that would tell you would wish you had owned a home during that time, by and large. And certainly 15 years ago, and very certainly 20 years ago. And so were you to stay in Chicago for that period of time, for the next 5 to 20 years, then you're going to make some money on the house, and it's going to be worth having owned the house. Usually buying real estate on the short term can get you in trouble. I mean, if you're going to be there 3 years or something, but that's not the case. But then in retirement, owning your real estate, what that does is it locks in the most expensive cost you have, which is housing. It locks in the cost of it to own the house, even if it's on payments. Prefer, obviously, to be paid for when you get to retirement, no kidding. But even if you just have a house payment, and you see, if you live to 65 years old, statistically, you're probably going to live into your 90s. Average death age of a male is 74, but that includes infant mortality, teenage death, and so on. Statistically, if you're in good health at 65, you probably got another 25 years to outpace inflation. And guess what rent's going to do during that 25 years? It's going to go up every year. And so your most expensive cost is housing, and it goes up every year when you're a renter during retirement or any other time. So